Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work, so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV for the next round of the Majors Series International Region for 2025. We go to the French countryside. We're racing for 2 hours and 25 minutes here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. It's the Le Mans 2.4. We have GTP/LMDH or Hypercar plus LMP2 and GT3. Ready to go for almost 2.5 hours around perhaps the most legendary circuit in the world. I know there's a few contenders for that title, but I think Le Mans is definitely up there. Bringing it to you live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. It's me, Reese Gardner. Lynn Kinchelow alongside me in the commentary box. Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons, bringing you these live pictures. Lynn, once again, a big round of this series, one that carries a lot of bragging rights, a multi-class endurance race around the Circuit de la Sarthe.
You said it in the intro, Reese, this is one of the big events of the year. We go from one strength to the next, going from the crown jewel of courage in the Speedway 500/Indianapolis 500 to the crown jewel of endurance as we start off the month of June with a little trip to the French countryside for us, essentially a sprint race in preparation for the Majors 24 in 2 weeks' time as we take a look at the Google Earth. It's a very googly Earth, and we're going to zoom in into the French countryside all the way down. Check out these neat little forests as we slide on in, and you get a look at the landscape surrounding this wonderful, wonderful partial street circuit, partial permanent road course. Take a look at that track length, 13.6 kilometers of massive speed and very technical sections in the Porsche curves.
Absolutely. This track's been through so many changes over the years, but the run from turn 9 on the map at Tetre Rouge down through Mulsanne and up to Indianapolis and Arnage at turn 20, all the way up to the entry of the Porsche curves at turn 23, has remained almost exactly the same since 1923. And you can even go back on the Mulsanne straight to 1906, The first ever proper Grand Prix race held then actually used the Mulsanne Strait as part of its route. So there's a lot of history around here, and there'll be more history potentially to be made here today. And I say today because it's Sunday afternoon in Australia, probably a bit of a different time of day for you, Lynn. We've got 3 classes of car here today: GTP, LMP2, and GT3. GTP's blue, LMP2's red, GT3's green on our timing screen, so it'll be very easy to tell who's in what class. There is potential for one safety car, a potential randomly generated one, somewhere along these 145 minutes of racing yet to come. And there'll be a lot to talk about in terms of strategy as well, Lynn, because all of these classes, they have different ways of getting the distance on a fuel tank. Before we do that, though, let's look at the standings. Robert Northway taking the championship lead out of the Speedway 500. He managed to finish on the podium, I believe, and managed to grab that from James Walker. Ewan Baker rounding out our top 3, with Garen Batten and Hayden Kirk rounding out your top 5. Equal on points with Ben Doughty. It's looking like this top 7 or so in the championship is looking mighty close.
Mighty close, and it's going to get even closer as this is a 3-class race. That also changes the maximum number of points available at the top end. Normally, for a single class race, it's 250 points for a win. Here, if you win your class, it's just 229, and that also provides a little bit of strategic planning as you pick your car classes. Just looking at this list, I see Garen Batten in the LMP2s, Ewan Baker is in a GTP prototype, and a lot of the guys all have to make little strategy calls just to qualify for this event. And then we're going to slide on over to the Legends division, which is for some of our more senior members, of at least, I want to say 50 years of age or older.
Yes, exactly. Drivers over 50 years of age eligible for the Legends Championship, and Robert Deloach currently on top there. Looking close between Jake Fox and Ray Partridge. Dan Stevens and Stuart Elder rounding out your top 5 there, but Elder under a little bit of threat from Wayne Hutchison as he comes into this round. Roger Shank not too far behind either, only a few points separating them. Brian Scrivener and Gavin Barber rounding out your top 10 there, only separated by 4 points. Going to be mighty close between those guys as well. And of course, the team standings are a big part of all of this as well. Unfortunately, we do not have a graphic for that, but the teams like Fusion Gold and the like are always at or near the top, so you can expect them to have a good run here. David Haynes would be a big fan of that particular B-roll shot there. There is a KFC on the inside of the circuit, just past Tetra Rouge. So, well, if you crash out, at least you've got some comfort food waiting for you.
Nothing like a good bowl of chicken and maybe with some mashed potatoes or some mac and cheese. I think this is on the menu at KFC. I don't know. It's been a few years since I've been to one, and oftentimes these are topics that will occur later on in the Majors 24 when you get into the late running, and then we have to figure out, okay, what are we actually going to have for food, you know?
Yeah, exactly right. And I have no idea what the menu of KFC looks like in France, so there's potentially some other options there. Poule frite or something, they might call it. I'm not too sure. Anyway, only got a couple of minutes left in the warm-up / practice session before this race gets started, and we've got just enough time to have a little bit of a chat about how the strategy is going to work. Of course, a 2-hour and 25-minute race. In the GT3 class, the fuel tank in those cars can go round about an hour, looking at a potential 2-stop race for the GT3s. The LMP2s are going to be taking a lot more stops. Their fuel tank only lasts about 45 minutes or so. That's worth about 10 to 12 laps around this circuit. The GTPs, on the other hand, they'll run potentially about for 45, 55 minutes. So we can expect them to have a 2-stopper as well. But LMP2's almost a guaranteed 3-stopper unless we have a fuel-saving wizard out there.
Either a fuel-saving wizard or, as we mentioned before, the possibility of one safety car that randomly will appear at some point during the race. If you get lucky and you happen to be approaching the Ford chicanes coming in when that caution is called, that's a cheap pit stop you can get for some free track position.
Exactly. Issue is, no one outside of the admin team will know if there is a safety car in the first place, and if there is, when it will come out. So we'll be waiting with bated breath for that. But do our best to try and bring you the action here as we check in with the weather conditions. 26-degree track temperature, 21 degrees in the air. It's just coming up to 10 a.m. in sim time. So a nice cool French morning here in the midst of summer. Should surely see those temperatures rise as time goes on. Kicking over then to the race session. It'll be time for our field to present itself on the grid. And, well, taking pole position for this race, not much of a surprise to see, Sean Campbell. He's an absolute weapon in these GTPs. Maxime Dumoulin is going to join him here on the front row. A Porsche and a Cadillac leading the way for the GTPs. In the second row, it is Sam Sutton from Australia, Ewan Baker from New Zealand via Scotland. Again, a Porsche and a Cadillac on the second row. Thomas Freeman has managed to qualify in 5th place. He's going to be starting alongside Orbit Drop Bears Tyson Broad. Ben Doughty and Sam Harper will be rounding out your top 10 positions with top 8 positions. Thomas Freeman, the first of our Acuras here, 2 more Cadillacs on the 4th row. Dean Mole going to start in the Kingsman Ferrari 499P. Jason Lockridge also in a Ferrari, rounding out your top 10. Ryan Steele and Chris Yatit, Alexander Sheridan and Ryan Steele are your 6th row. And then we have Chris Yatito and Peter Matson, 13th and 14th. Field rounded out by Julian Mookie there, as the first of our LMP2s is Travis Warling. Thomas Hinz going to join him up the front there. Garen Batten and Robert Northway are going to be 18th and 19th overall, with Dan Stevens joining Northway there on the 10th row of the grid. Hayden Kirk and Gavin Cox, then Rob Deloach and Brian Scrivener rounding out our prototype classes. Lynn, how's it looking in GT3?
GT3, there's a whole cast of new characters here, as this is a warm-up for the Majors 24. We got Lewis Greathead on the pole in a McLaren, it looks like, alongside Lachlan Capel, also in a McLaren. First of our regulars is James Walker. It's kind of looking like McLaren's all here, so alongside Sam Chapman. Continuing on real quick, the prototypes are rapidly approaching the starting line. Darcy Inwood and Riding Bettens will ring in. I believe these guys are going to team together in the Majors 24. Eli Donaldson alongside Sean Anton McLaughlin. That's a somewhat famous name during recent days. David Ruddle, Richard T. Kumlin in the next row, 9th and 10th. Row 6 of the GT3s is Dylan Jordan, looks like another regular with us, and Stuart Elder for the Fusion Silver International team. Justin Morton comes in helping out the Fusions in the 13th position alongside Robbie Badbury. In a BMW, hallelujah, we have some different cars. Ray Partridge and Jake Fox in 15th and 16th right there. Followed closely behind by a pair of Mustangs, Wayne Hutchison, Adam Johnson. Just a couple of more cars to go. 19th and 20th, Phil Otto, Matt Chalker. I'm starting to sense that there's a bit of a Noah's Ark theme to it. And then we're just going to have an oddball. We have Michael Hogg, definitely not in the Colt, in a McLaren, rounding out the field. As you see in the skies, the French Air Force celebrating as we get going.
Absolutely. Just in time, the start of the race. Sean Campbell leading us away into turn 1. Big boost in the Cadillac from Maxime Dumoulin as they make their way into turn 1 for the first time. Sam Sutton keeping them honest in the Porsche 963 for Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport. The start being executed nice and cleanly for our GTPs as it looks like there's some chaos that's happened at the back of the LMP2 pack. The front of the GT3s have already passed them. That's a big problem there for Gavin Cox in the 555 Middle Finger Racing entry. Hayden Kirk moving back a few positions as well. Ewan Baker has had a disastrous start in our GTPs. He started in 4th, but looks like he had a spin coming out of turn 4, so under the Dunlop Bridge, just caught the curve in the wrong way, but he's gotten back going again. This is what happened to Gavin Cox. Oh, the LMP2s were getting up to speed, and it looks like Cox ran into the back of Hayden Kirk there. So a terrible start to this race for the back of our LMP2s, and a few drivers looking to capitalize on that.
It's a little bit embarrassing when you get caught out before the start. A lot of these guys on cold tires, really short pace lap. You see this car spinning around into the gravel, and that's going to force him way behind in the meantime to get this race underway.
Not good. Well, Baker already starting to make up some places. He's passed Peter Matson and Julian Mookie at the back of the field there. The LMP2 front runners not too far behind. Campbell remaining in the lead, but there's a change for second. Sam Sutton has gotten past Maxime Dumoulin, and Tyson Broad is now pressuring the Frenchman in the Cadillac. Actually, Maxime is of the Benelux club. I do apologize there. Belgian, I believe, for Maxime there. So, the top 4, very close for our GTPs. We have Thomas Freeman in the Acura just behind, looking to capitalize on any Cummings together, but he's on his own at the moment. And one thing that you notice if you're not familiar with this track, and well, you really should be if you're a motorsports fan, the first thing you notice, Lynn, is the straights are quite long. So you need that slipstream to keep up with your rivals.
So long, in fact, that after a certain car brand decided to turn the Mulsanne straight into an improvised runway for taking off, they added a couple of chicanes to it. As we take a look at the Mulsanne corner right here is the GT3s. Getting a little bit of a tow from the Cox machine right there. The LMP2 slowly walking off. These cars, and meanwhile, back at the ranch, the 03 has had an incident.
And Jason Lottridge, who's going to fall back as a result of that. It looks like Julian Mookie also having a problem there. That's at the Arnage corner, which is near the middle of the lap. And big damage there for Hayden Kirk. His race has just gotten worse in the P2s. He's gotten a drive-through for avoidable contact from race control. So I get the feeling there's a bit more to Hayden Kirk's story than what we saw at the start. Something going wrong for him a little further on back. Well, actually, Kirk made that error all by himself. He ran over the curbs and unsettled the car, and he sent him right into the wall.
Yeah, he cut that way deeper than I would expect even the GT3s would, and that's a lot of damage that he's going to have to carry. Fortunately enough, in the major series, you are entitled to one spare car to rapidly repair your machine and get back going. That penalty for the 371 has been corrected to the 555 because the 555 was running into the 371. But yes, to get back to the original point, Kirk, he's not out of this race yet, but he's going to be right on the back foot. He is attempting to limp that machine all the way around, and he's just now entering the Porsche curves, and he's missing the right front at this particular point, so it's a very wobbly affair for him right now.
Very much so. In the meantime, Maxime Dumoulin has lost his spot on the podium to another Orbit Drop Bear Porsche. Tyson Broad's found his way past him on the, I think at the end of the last lap there. So Maxime has a lot of work to do. Can he keep up with the Porsches at the front here? It seems like the Porsche 963 is the car to have here if you want to be fast in a straight line. Sean Campbell is making about 310, 320 k's an hour at the end of the straight. Talking point that we should keep an eye on here is iRacing's somewhat new debris refresh. A lot of gravel has been put onto the racetrack at the exit of Mulsanne Corner there. So the drivers making their way out of this corner, it's so important to get good traction out of the slow corners here because they're often followed by long straights, but you catch that gravel and it can make things rather difficult.
Yeah. But fortunately for these drivers, they will have a heads-up awareness of it through the new debrief flag system that has been implemented in the most recent patch back in, what was it, March? Anyways, that'll give them a heads-up indication that, hey, there's something amiss in this corner. It's probably going to be something to keep an eye on. So they will know to tippy-toe through there, at least until they get a dry, well, I say a dry line, a clean line through the track. But they're kicking up rocks and debris all over the place. Meanwhile, let's take a look at this battle for second in the Prototype 2 category as we get one car running off the track. That's GTP. Julia Mookie is not having a good time of it.
No, certainly not. Mookie was already, I think, at the back of the GTP field. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get the pace of the front runners, and it seems like the race is not going well for him. He's hoping that he'll be able to get some rhythm going and avoid trouble, because even though this race only goes for 2.4 hours and not 24, endurance and survival is still a major part of this race. So see the relative positions of the cars on track there. There's one LMP2 in the middle of the GT3 pack, and that's Gavin Cox. Hayden Kirk all the way at the back. And we have a couple of stragglers at the back of the GTP field, the blue numbers, making their way out of the Porsche curves there, just ahead of our front runners here in LMP2. Thomas Hinds leading the battle for second place. Got Garen Batten and Robert Northway chasing him down. And a good result here for Northway is incredibly important. He is the overall championship leader coming into this round, but Thomas Hinds, when he has a run in the major series, is often a force to be reckoned with. I remember a few years back battling Cameron Dance for the international region title. And the international region is back for 2025 after a year's break. It's good to see it.
Yep, and that means we get plenty of opportunities for a lot of these drivers to not only run their home region race, but they can also, new for this year, race all three regions. Not only just international, but also the European and Americas regions. We got a couple of those drivers that are attempting all three. The two obvious suspects in this category will be the two dog bear machines of Ray Partridge and Wayne Hutchinson. They are currently attempting the triple Ironman. And one of our returning drivers for this round is Travis Worling. Good old Nova. He's back after a little bit of time away, having to deal with a hardware issue, as we take a look at the 535 of Richard T. Kumlin. And I believe this is also his onboard zoom camera. Completing the next lap and starting lap number 3 for him.
Yeah, I'm envious of that beard. I am a beard haver myself, and well, I can only wish that mine would get that long. I think my grandfather had a beard about that long near the end of his life. So Richard Kumlin certainly pushing hard in his pursuit here of David Ruddle. A lot of McLarens in the GT3 field, and Richard is very focused, eyes forward here. Got to get the exit right from Tetra Rouge. See the curb there? You got to get back on the racetrack, or at least have two wheels on the racetrack before that curb ends. Otherwise, you will get a slowdown penalty. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of those as the race goes on.
Yeah, just one little boo-boo, and iRacing will tell you, hey, you've taken too much curb. You need to slow down a little bit. And a lot of times what you'll see in those situations is you will just try to lift on the straightaway and see if you can get it clear by the first Mulsanne chicane. That way you're not becoming a liability if you try to like slow down and take it out all at once. So meanwhile, as we take a look at where are we in this looks like GTP's about the midfield. Taking a look at the battle for P4, this is Dumoulin and Freeman Cadillac versus Acura, so this is going to be an interesting battle to watch throughout this race.
Yeah, Dumoulin is unfortunately falling back quite a bit. His race pace just doesn't seem to match those around him. Though his qualifying pace was great. Oh no, Ewan Baker, I think. That's in the Kiwi Sim Racing Speed Nation, and that's involved 3 cars there. Alexander Sheridan, Dean Mole, and Ewan Baker. That's in the middle of the Porsche curves. A terrible place to have an incident. Sheridan's lost his front end. Ewan Baker's lost his rear wing. I mean, it all went wrong for him at the start for Ewan Baker. He spun under the Dunlop Bridge on lap 1, and he's been working hard to try and get his way back up the field, but all of that work is now for nothing after this incident that we're going to see. Sheridan off the pace in the Ferrari, and Baker thought that he could get by on the inside, but the door was shut. And, oh, actually, it was Mole that he was trying to get past. Poor Sheridan. There was nothing he could do to avoid that. It was a rather difficult incident to watch. All 3 of those cars now in the pits getting repairs. Dean Mole has had to tow. He couldn't get it back to pit lane, but Sheridan and Baker have made it back in. They can get their spare cars. In fact, I would argue they must. Those cars are very heavily damaged.
Yep. These cars aren't affected by the too much damage we're done flag that will affect some other machines, like especially like the IR-18 in the last round at the Speedway 500. But you definitely want to get the faster period because you want to lose as little time as possible, especially if you're the Baker machine. I think race control is going to come down dim on that moment, so we'll see. But we'll see what they decide.
Yeah, I suppose you could make the argument that Mole was offline coming into the Porsche curves, and that compromised his pace. And you know, Baker would argue that Mole turned in on him, but at the same time, you know, it's a very quick decision you have to make in a situation like that, and it just doesn't work out well. It looks like Julian Mookie is also just towed back to the pits, so that's yet another GTP with issues, as we'll focus for now on the battle for 4th in GT3. Darcy Inwood leading this one for the Blackout OPR team. James Walker for Fusion chasing him down here. The McLaren is massively pacey here at Le Mans. Well, we're going to see what happened to Julian Mookie here. Still trying to work his way back through the LMP2 pack, but it looks like, oh, a bit of instability out of Tetra Rouge and heavy contact with the end of the guardrail, and that is effectively day done.
Yeah, that's just a rough little moment right there. I don't think he had full control entering the corner, and then as he got onto the curves, that just upset it even more. So at some point, the car was just going to give either way, and unfortunately, he catches the guardrail at the worst possible spot at that end point. So spun around, hit all 4 corners. He's going to be spending a long time. And wait a minute, hold on. Where are we, Reese? Are we in Le Mans or are we at Daytona? Because that's bump traffic.
Certainly is. Darcy Inwood there. Actually, no, that's Ryan Bettis in the other Blackout OPR McLaren trying to bump draft Lachlan Capel in the Evolution Racing Team machine. The Vermilion Esports car of Lewis Greathead. There's actually quite a few heavy-hitting Australian sim racing teams that are competing in this event in the GT3 class. We have Vermilion, Evolution, and One Performance Racing. All doing quite well, but for the moment, Lewis Greathead is dominant out the front of the GT3 pack. I get the feeling that Bettis might have been bump drafting Capel there to allow them to sort of catch up and maybe fight with Greathead for the lead. The first of our LMP2s, or actually the back of our LMP2s, I think that's Gavin Cox there that's making his way through there. Finding their way through the GT3s. I don't think they expected to be dealing with prototype traffic this early.
Well, that's just the nature of the game here. Yes, at the initial start, the classes all attempted to separate about 10 seconds from each other, but as we saw at that initial start, a couple of these cars getting into issues before the green flag or getting across the start-finish line, getting spun around, and then having to, in the case of the 555, serve a penalty for some of those incidents. as we just keep watching this little tandem battle just zooming on along. Can they make it through Indianapolis? Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah, only just. The incident between Dean Moll, Alexander Sheridan, and Ewan Baker is under review by Race Control. So we're going to see a decision come out from that very shortly, I'm sure. But keep our eyes on the podium battle in GT3 for now. Category dominated by the McLaren 720S. This is quite the car for Le Mans, apparently, with the current balance of performance. We have some good brand representation a bit further back. We have BMWs, we have Mustangs as well racing, but they're a bit off the pace here. So if you want to be fast, evidently the McLaren is the way to go. Back to the battle for GTP. Tyson Broad has jetted away a bit from Maxime Dumoulin, and we'll see if Thomas Freeman will be able to pass the Cadillac in his Acura. About a year ago or so, the GTP class was dominated by the Acura. It was far and away the best car, but there's been some changes. A new tire model been brought out for the GTPs as well, and so that has rejigged the running order a little bit. I think any car could still be competitive, but drivers will make their choices.
Yeah, and especially in an event like this where it is going to be completely dry throughout the entire running, we're not going to have to worry about inclement weather. You definitely want to pick the car that is the quickest. If you are one of those that is competitive at the front. I wouldn't know anything about that. I like my Mustang too much, but when we get later on into the Majors 24 in a couple of weeks, there's going to be something in between that happens. That'll be the Season 3 2025 patch, and that's going to throw everything out of whack, because that'll introduce a new tire model for the GT3s. There could be a whole new meta by the time we get to the big race.
Certainly could be. It'll be interesting to see if there are any changes made in those front-running teams in the GT3 class. Well, a lot of interesting things coming to iRacing in the near future. Only a few weeks until week 13 and the new build will be upon us. There's our leaders, Sean Campbell and Sam Sutton, underneath the historic Dunlop Bridge. Then this ever closer battle for third place. Dumoulin has gained a little bit more on Tyson Broad in the sort of twistier sections of the racetrack. It seems like once they get to the Mulsanne Straight, that's when the Porsche really comes alive. And from here until the first chicane is technically the fastest part of the racetrack. So we'll monitor the straight line speed of these cars. Dumoulin, I think, maybe saving a bit of energy, and he's deploying it nicely here down the Mulsanne. Tyson Broad's top speed reaching just 322 k's an hour on the way down into the braking zone. In the slipstream, Dumoulin was able to just brush 325. So I'll give you a bit of a comparison for the straight line speed of these cars. Battle still going on the bottom of your screen between Lachlan Capel and Ryan Bettes. They're managing to stay in touch with Greathead, but I get the feeling he's going to start slipping away ever more here, because last lap he ran a time a whole second quicker than those two behind him.
Yep. When you're that quick, you are able to push onward and be able to get ahead. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of activity on the Race Control channel. I believe that's an interesting ruling right there. Car 31, car 34 incident. That is the Moll and Baker. Thank you. Names are difficult to come by these days. No further action. Apparently, Race Control has decided that was just a little bit of an oopsie. Unfortunately, took out 3 good cars.
Racing incident between Ewan Baker and Dean Moll. And I get the feeling Alexander Sheridan will feel especially shortchanged by that, because I reviewed the incident on my end, and Sheridan did the right thing. He got on the brakes, he slowed down, he tried to find a gap, to go through, but then Mullen Baker just slid towards him at the last moment, and, well, Sheridan had nothing to do with that. Unfortunate to say the least. Freeman on the back of Dumoulin. Tyson Broad switching over to make your way past the first of the GT3s that the cars are coming across. Matt Chalker, Adam Johnson, and Michael Hogg, the first drivers to fall behind, and that was Hogg that we just saw them making their way past there. The pair of Mustangs of Matt Chalker and Adam Johnson just exiting the Porsche curves ahead of these guys. They'll be on them in no time.
Yeah, this is part of what makes multi-class racing so unique, is you have different cars with different capabilities all fighting on the same surface, essentially in their own races. And you see right here, we get, meanwhile we take a look at the replay of an incident that occurs with the Mookie car.
Oh,
Locks it up. Oh, that's another collision for Mookie, and I believe he's already used up his spare car. Kennedy may be able to confirm that with the side channel.
that's a very weird incident.
Look. Yeah, probably it just straight locked up. And you can see we're switching around so often, so quickly. So many things are happening at once. There's, like I said, there's 3 races going on here as these GTPs, as confirmed, Mookie has used his fast repair. Meanwhile, take a look at this battle for second in the GTP category. Well, third actually. That's Broad being chased by Dumoulin and Freeman. They get around the lap traffic of the GT3, and then they'll be able to carry on.
Yeah, but the cars are going to start coming thick and fast for these guys. It's all well and good making your way past the likes of Chalker, Johnson, and Hogg, because they're way off the back of the rest of the GT3 field. But the further up they go, the more cars there's going to be in more places, and they're really going to have to start thinking about how they negotiate this traffic. You saw just then Tyson Broad gaining a lot of time on Dumoulin and Freeman because they were stuck behind the purple Jack Daniels Mustang on their way through the first of our chicanes there. So yeah, keep an eye out for more issues of that ilk here. It's going to happen to them again here at the second Mulsanne chicane. That's Wayne Hutchison there in the red and black Mustang. They can't find their way past him until the exit of the corner, and you saw a really big checkup had to be done there by Dumoulin, and that's cost them even more time to Tyson Broad. Live for the lead on the bottom for GT3. It looks like Lewis Greathead has lost time to Capel and Bettes, and they are all together now for the top 3.
It looks to me, just looking at Greathead's last couple of laps, his personal best is a 356.843, and compared that to Capel, just running a 356.327, these guys have been able to catch up rapidly. So now we got a little bit of a 3-way furball for this fight. Are the temporary allies in Bettis and Capel going to stick together to try to get around Greathead, or is this going to devolve into a 3-way fight?
That is the question. We still got about half an hour or so before we expect the GT3s to start making moves towards the pits. So maybe they'll just fly in formation for now. Bettis and Capel were working together very nicely to catch back up to Greathead. Now that they're in the slipstream of Lewis, they might be able to stick there. They just got to make sure they nail every single corner exit from here on out. See the wide line that Greathead takes into the final chicanes of the lap. Big curbs in the final 2 turns. It looks like Greathead was able to nail that exit better than either of his closest competitors. And you got to remember the pack behind them as well of Inwood, Walker, and Eli Donaldson. They aren't too far behind either.
And the overall race leader is rapidly approaching this battle in a hurry. Sean D. Campbell with the overall lead, with a 5-second lead in the category, is picking his way through this traffic now. He's just got a couple of more cars to go for this in the GT3s before he gets to this little battle, and that's where it's going to get really spicy, is when class leaders get together.
Well, looking at the relative positions, it looks like Campbell might catch up to them coming out of the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Problem for a Porsche further back. Peter Matson. He's another GTP driver that's been having a few issues keeping the momentum up here. Earlier on, I saw him run deep at Mulsanne corner. And, well, it seems his problems are continuing. There's Campbell. And Capel moving over to let Campbell go. Campbell gets past third and second place. Needs to wait for the exit to get past Greathead. This is what happened to Peter Matson. Oh, yeah. On the brakes into Indianapolis, it's, I think, the most difficult braking zone on iRacing is Indianapolis in a GTP. Because you're carrying so much speed through the right hand, you've got to get on the brakes instantly, but the problem is, if you're still turning at that point, your balance gets thrown off. And you can easily go too deep. So, yeah, understandable why that happened to Matson. Side by side, Thomas Freeman and Maxime Dumoulin. And Maxime is back to 5th place now. Looks like the traffic worked out in Thomas Freeman's favor, and Dumoulin deciding to lift off here. Maybe save a bit of fuel. He's obviously recognized here that in the race conditions, he's not quite able to keep up with the Porsches and the Acura. So now his thoughts will likely turn to how he can optimize the strategy.
Yep. In this particular event, fuel saving is not necessarily about how long you can go, but how much fuel you can save and still complete the stint distance, to where then if you have a little more gas in the tank, you can spend a little less time on pit road trying to pick up a little bit of time that way. Still taking a look at this battle for the lead of the GT3s. These guys are sticking to each other like glue down this back stretch into Indianapolis. And it's a very difficult braking zone for any car, especially GT3s. You have to almost kind of lift before the right-hander and give a little stab at the brake there and get around the right-hander and then stab on the brakes again to make the Indianapolis turn.
Yeah, GT3s rely a little bit more on mechanical grip than the prototypes do. So the ebb and flow of this battle pack for the top 3 continues. They should just be in slipstream range of Greathead for now. Meanwhile, David Ruddle with a problem at the very same corner. Good save, apparently. Whoa, off into the gravel trap, but just avoiding getting into the tire bundles. Ends up losing the spot there to, I believe that was Richard Kumlin, who we were riding on board with before. So it's a nice freebie there for Richard.
It's a freebie for both of these drivers. I mean, Kumlin gets the position, but Riddell, relying on that mechanical grip that the GT3s have to slide the car just enough to where then once he gets to the gravel, all 4 wheels kind of dig in, and then it brings the car to a stop before the tire barriers. He saves his fast repair for the time being.
Does indeed. Lucky getaway. Well, now, the number 9 of Justin Morton and the 21 of Dylan Jordan will start to chase down David Ruddle. Stuart Elder in the midst of all this as well. Dylan Jordan, the KSR Speed Nation filling in a Fusion sandwich for the time being. Running a retro McLaren livery there, it seems. Bringing back that sort of late 90s flair of the McLaren F1 cars.
Yep, we always love seeing throwback liveries, especially at important events like the Le Mans race, reminiscent of, I want to say it's the Formula One team from the mid-90s, the Mika Hakkinen era, right?
Yes.
And to a certain extent also Kimi Räikkönen's first stint at McLaren.
Yeah, exactly right. Nostalgia overload for the time being into the first Mulsanne chicane, and keep an eye on the steering inputs here for Dylan Jordan. You want to, I mean, the GT3 tires, they can go practically forever. Like, they can go easily a stint or more, especially around here where most of the track is straights. But you still want to try and be smooth on the steering. Make sure that you have the optimum grip for those tyres as time goes on. Change for third in GTP, I've just noticed. Thomas Freeman has moved past Tyson Broad for third. They're actually side by side on the run down to Indianapolis. And that could be potentially disastrous. It looks like Freeman's decided to back out of it. But evidently Tyson Broad not able to keep Thomas Freeman at bay for the time being. Freeman absolutely jetting up to Broad, and I think traffic might have had something to do with that. Freeman tried, but the outside run out of a slow corner is usually the better place to be, because you're able to get on the power a bit sooner and straighten up the car sooner as well. So Broad was able to carry that momentum down the straight here. And a little bit before the corner, Freeman realized, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to get this done. So just stick behind Tyson for the time being here through the Porsche curves. Move back to the lead battle for GT3. We're about to see one of our LMP2s find their way through on these guys, but they can't get past them before the Porsche curves. And this is the problem for LMP2 and both of the prototype classes, really. You can come up on the back here, if you're Hayden Kirk, of a pack like this and think, yeah, okay, I can go through these corners much faster than these guys can. But if you don't position your car exactly the right way, you're not going to be able to get the move done when it matters. So he's just decided it's best to stay behind for now, take advantage of the extra sort of speed out of the corners that the LMP2 can have. He doesn't want to interfere with this top three battle. It's one of the more embarrassing things that can happen to you as a prototype driver if you're trying to make moves and you end up affecting a battle for position.
And to make matters worse, Hayden Kirk currently 9th in the class and running last. He's actually on the same lap as these cars at the moment, so he's going to have to take his time and pick his way through. He gets one. He gets the Bettis machine. Yes. And the reason I mentioned that they're on the same lap, the GT3s are not going to get blue flags. If it was, say, Sean Campbell in the overall lead approaching them, these guys would get heads up that, hey, there's a faster class approaching, but not in this particular case because Kirk is on the same lap.
Well, Kirk now has the full first part of the Mulsanne straight to find his way past these guys. Bettis has lost touch with Capel and Greathead as a result. The battle still going on between Broad, Freeman, and now Dumoulin is starting to get back into the fight as well. He's gotten within a second of them. Problem is, Thomas Freeman, though he is driving the Acura, which is one of the better handling GTPs, he's not got the straight line speed advantage that the Porsche seems to have. It cuts through the air a little bit better. And so Freeman, though he is in the slipstream, not making many gains there on Tyson Broad.
But again, it's still early going, so again, he could be playing the fuel strategy game, save a little bit of fuel, spend a little less time at the pits, try to get ahead that way. But in the meantime, you might as well just hang on to him because it's a temporary friend. As we look at the look behind the Des Moines machine, just hanging on there ever so slightly. Then it's about another 5 seconds back to the Ben Doty machine in a Cadillac, just sort of kind of off in no man's land, but it was still progressing nicely. Meanwhile, trying to take a look and see where the good parties are. We're still back on this GT3 battle right here as they work their way around the Mulsanne corner for another time. All things popping off all around the place. There we go. There we go. Sides. Well, we get the old top-down Mario Kart view. Take a look at two different parties.
Yeah, for sure. Have a look at the speed that Freeman's carrying there through the Porsche curves. The Acura is looking supreme in that section of the circuit. And Capel is starting to round up Lewis Greathead here. Bettis has managed to get back in touch with them as well. took advantage of the slipstream in just the right place. And Freeman is through on Tyson Broad, coming out of Porsche curves into the Ford chicanes to end the lap, but he dips a wheel off into the gravel. Could arrest his momentum a little, but seems like Broad is in no hurry to try and fight back there. In fact, Broad might have a slowdown. I think that's why he slowed up there on the start-finish straight, and that's let Dumoulin back through for fourth.
Got a little too eager over the curbs to the Ford chicane. That gets iRacing very unhappy at you, and having to slow down to get that cleared has allowed Des Moines to get through. And meanwhile, we take a look at this GT3 battle. Oh, there is a prototype in the mix. It's another suspicious moment.
Yeah, that's the number 27, Acrucia Tito, finding his way past our GT3 leaders. And I think as a GT driver, when a prototype gets past... Oh no, is that a slowdown there for Greathead? I think it is. He took a bit too much curb in those final chicanes, and he's lost the lead that he's held on to for the past 30-something minutes of this race. That's not ideal, but this could be a blessing in disguise for Greathead. Now he can slipstream and save a bit of fuel, as that's a problem there for Jason Lottridge in car 03. That's heavy damage, and it's going to be hard for him to get rolling from there. Looks like that car has no drive in it, and it's unclear exactly what happened to him there. It looks like he was finding his way through on the other Vermilion car of Sam Chapman at the exit of the Porsche curves, and he caught the curb in just the right fashion to snap him around.
As we're taking a look, if we get a chance to take a look at the replay, he not only did Lottridge catch curb, he also caught a little bit of grass, and these cars do not like the lawn whatsoever. If you fight the lawn will win.
It will indeed. There goes Lottridge through over the curb, and whoops-a-daisy. Just a little bit of unsettling in the car there, and lucky escape for Ewan Baker, having to take to the grass in the KSR Speed Nation Cadillac. Man, that is crazy. Pit stops, though, are upon us, Lynn. The LMP2 field has reached the end of their first fuel tank, and well, we're going to see Julian Mookie pull out of the pits there. But Walling, Hins, Batten, Northway, and Stevens all in the lane. I'm expecting Deloach, Scrivener, and Cox to get back in there as well. But Deloach has decided he's going to be able to keep going for another lap.
A little bit of a dice roll for the Deloach machine. With his laps are a couple of seconds off the front runner, so perhaps this is an extreme fuel save. Going that extra lap, potentially trying to shave off a little bit of time at the end. Scribner's going to be coming in, and it looks like Cox as well will be the rest of the LMP2 front runners coming in to get their service as the front runners in the category make their way out of the pit road onto the outlap.
So comparing pit stop times, it looks like Aaron Batten had the quickest run through the lane of those LMP2 pitters. 37 seconds in the box and 1 minute and 9 seconds from entry to exit. He's managed to gain a bit there on Thomas Hins. Hasn't quite been able to find his way past, but crucially, still just in slipstream range. Starts to come into effect from about 1 to 1.5 seconds back, generally. Bettes, then, second place in GT3. Was third for the longest time, but that slowdown for Greathead really changed things around for him, and now he's pressuring Capel for the lead. Dumoulin and Broad will swap positions here. And it's going to be an interesting one here for Broad and Sutton, because I've been given some information concerning the Majors 24 for the Orbit Drop Bear guys. Sean Campbell, our race leader, is going to be racing with Orbit Drop Bear for the Majors 24. And Campbell, Sutton, and Broad will be sharing the Porsche 963. They are all apparently testing different things setup-wise, so that'll just go to show that the amount of preparation that goes into a big event like this. And tell you what, well done to Orbit Drop Bear for getting the services of Sean Campbell, who I know for sure is an absolute weapon in GTPs. Dumoulin getting the best of exits out of the second chicane. Broad will go back through.
That is going to be a immensely powerful lineup for the Orbit Drop Bear team in the Majors 24. As you said, Campbell being one of the best GTP drivers out here in the field, it's going to be crucially important because this year will be the first time we get wet weather racing in the Majors 24. And yeah, I think Zeus kind of stubbed his toe on the weather forecast for that. Oh boy.
Yeah, well, that will all be yet to come, thanks to our friends at Global Sim Racing Channel, who are taking broadcasting duties for the Majors 24. Chris Tito, meanwhile, having some trouble at the first chicane there. These GTPs get very skatey on cold tyres. They are practically impossible to drive for the first couple of laps out of the pits. You just got to baby them around until the tyres get up to temp, and then you can start pushing. Campbell coming into the pits. Our leader, the first of our GTPs to come in for a stop. And now, does anyone follow him in is the question. Looks like we have a few cars coming in. An LMP2 ahead of Sam Sutton, and potentially Thomas Freeman may come in behind. Deloach was the LMP2 in question. Freeman coming out of the Porsche curves here. He has absolutely put some distance between himself and the battle between Broad and Dumoulin. Broad's going to go in, but Dumoulin's going to stay out. Interesting decision there.
Yeah, Dumoulin was been staying in the draft for quite a long time in the stint. Perhaps thinks he has enough to go one more lap. Again, trying to shorten that last little stint ever so slightly. As we take a look at the Sam Harper machine in the GTP category, making his way through the yellow cones signifying pit road entry. As we rotate back to the GT3 battle, they don't have to worry about fuel for another little bit, so we're just going to have a little showdown right here as we get some more bump drafting. We're back at Daytona.
We are indeed. Ryan Bettis, I think, is playing this one really well. Like, he hasn't been aggressive in the fight here. He's driven fast enough to stay in touch with Lachlan Capel, and he's been able to push him along a little bit in the slipstream, lift off a little bit, save himself a bit of fuel. I don't know when Bettis is going to show his hand, but he will surely have to show it at some point, because these are three different teams competing in the top three here. They won't be wanting to help each other out by the very end of the race. Keep an eye here on Greathead's line through the Porsche curves. See if there's anything different he's doing to Bettis and Capel. Seems like they all have that section sorted out. The exit right there is one of the places where you can pick up a slowdown if you run too far beyond the bounds of that curb on the exit. They all avoid that for the time being. Still no sign of any pit stops for the GT3s. They're going to have, I think, another 15 minutes or so before they'll need to make their way in. Change for position in GTP as well. Ewan Baker, who hasn't come in for a stop yet. Of course, he's had to take a tow to pit lane once in this race. That's going to put him way off strategy to everyone else. He's found his way past Tyson Broad, who's probably still getting his tyres back up to temperature. We'll see what Baker will be able to do from here. He's clearly got the pace to stick with, the top drivers in GTP, but he's going to be way out of position when he cycles through.
Yep, he's currently working the 10th lap of this stint. Currently, the leaders in the GTP category made it in 12 laps, although Des Moines is going to try to push the envelope a little bit, go for a 13th lap. As we look at who is this in front of him? I believe this is Freeman coming out on an out lap, and you see the difference between warm tires and cold tires. Baker is going to have no problems completing this overtake as Freeman. He doesn't have his Burf suit charged up just yet.
Not exactly. Baker pitted after 4 laps, and he would have lost a lot of time getting the damaged car back to the pits in the midst of all of that. So the leaders in GTP were able to make it 7 laps or so before they had to make it into the pit lane. From what I can see, unless my tire info is completely wrong. Yeah, it looks like I had a bit of a glitch on my timing screen, so it's not showing the stints up correctly. Dumoulin pitting after 13 laps from the lead of GTP, so they were able to make it 12 laps. Were our front runners. Ewan Baker making it 13 laps to this stint as well. So, few different numbers to work our way through there. Well, we'll keep our eye on the battle for GT3 for the time being, and see that the pit stop comparison here, Ewan Baker, well, he's 13 laps into the race, but he's going to be going another 2, maybe 3 laps from here for his first scheduled pit stop of the race. Dumoulin, meanwhile, in the pits, looking for a similar pit stop time to Campbell and Sutton of about 41 seconds. Let's see what the Cadillac will be able to do there. It's a little bit longer than I expected. 42 seconds there for Maxime Dumoulin. But he'll stay ahead at the very least of, I think, Ben Doughty. He'll lose the spot to Freeman, but, man, Tyson Broad not able to get back past Dumoulin there.
But not quite yet. I mean, these the rest of the GTP field, having had a lap to get the tires up to temperature, they're going to be able to. They'll be at a slight advantage to Des Moines at the moment, but as a Broad is rapidly approaching Des Moines' location, the missile knows where it is at all times, and he's going to chase him down real quick. He's going to take a peek to the outside of the Mulsanne. This is going to put him on the wrong side of the track for the first chicane, which is a right to left, but they're going to go side by side the whole way through. Maybe a slight draft advantage to the Broad machine as the Freeman is up the road a ways, about 1.5 seconds, and get that position to Broad.
Yep. Cool tires versus tires that are just about warmed up. LMP2, meanwhile, starting to close up here after the first pit stop was completed for this class almost 3 laps ago. Thomas Hinz on the verge of bringing the gap down to Travis Walling to within 1 second. This will be interesting. And there's going to be... Oh, hello. That is Peter Matson in the GTP that went off there at Indianapolis. Bit of a scare there for our LMP2 leaders. I was about to say, Lynn, we talk about differences between car models and all that when we talk about GT3 and such. And GTP as well, but that's not a problem for the LMP2 class. They're all driving the exact same chassis.
Yep. On iRacing, that is the Dallara P217. That is the Dallara is a longtime partner of iRacing in all forms of single-make motorsports. So that's the car that we happen to have at this point. I know there's a couple of different models in real life that are more preferred, but you have what you have here, and it's all equal. Virtually identical to the GTPs, except for the fact these do not have a hybrid system, so they're simpler to get up to running condition. You don't have to manage a little thingamabob that says, hey, how much battery do you want to deploy on this particular lap and whatnot. So it's a lot. It's a callback to the early days of the prototypes when you just had to just build a fast machine and get going. So as we take a look at the battle for 4th in the GT3 category, say hello to the first time to Darcy Inwood and James Walker, a ringer and a full-time driver in the series. going toe-to-toe in McLarens. And these guys are going to be trying to get this position down the Bolson straight.
Inwood and his teammate Betes preparing for the Majors 24. As I just saw, Betes found his way past Capel for the lead of GT3. There's been a change there. So it looks like that happened down at Mulsanne Corner. Now, will Capel try and fight back here? I was talking about Betes potentially showing his hand after he played sort of rear gunner role for the majority of the first stint here. But now he's shown that he is in this to win it. And the move was done of basically halfway between the final chicane and Mulsanne Corner. On board here with Chris Tito on the Majorseries.com replay. That's a bit deep. Oh, okay. Yeah, a bit too much curb on the way in. Maybe still carrying some brake as well over the curb. You mentioned the hybrid system in the GTPs, Lynn. Of course, they're not like the glory days of hybrid LMP1 where you could deploy four-wheel drive electric power. It's all rear-wheel drive in the GTPs, apart from maybe the Ferrari. If you're driving any other GTP, though, it's all through the rear wheels, and that means that the regen of the motor is done through the rear wheels as well, and that can make these cars very hard to handle under brakes. A lot more braking power with the actual generator unit using that sort of kinetic energy recovery system to slow down the rear axle. It makes them very hard to handle into corners.
Yeah, and I know a lot of consternation has been made about how the hybrid system currently works in iRacing. I know there's the staff that are very hard at work trying to change how the model works. In real life, the hybrid will only deploy in concert with the internal combustion engine as we get a GT3 pit stop. The McLaughlin machine, the 554, coming in a bit early. But back to the GTPs. Normally the battery just assists the internal combustion engine, and they refer to it in terms of how much power you use throughout the stint. They don't refer to it as fuel economy. It's just total power deployment. The way iRacing currently models it, it's basically like the Formula One system, where it kicks in extra power at the start of the stint, or at the start of the acceleration point. So these cars go a little bit faster than they do in real life, but they are actively working on it, and it does provide a bit of an extra challenge because it's essentially gets rid of like turbo lag. So it's like you get immediately instant extra power every time you step on the gas.
And that can be a boon in cars like the Acura and the Porsche that use turbochargers in their engines. The Cadillac, on the other hand, uses a naturally aspirated big American V8. So it's literally just extra power there for the Caddy. One of the best sounding cars on iRacing. And that's basically 3/4 of the reason that most people drive it. In any case, we should move back to LMP2, another V8 engine class, but of the lower capacity, higher revving variant. Gavin Cox making one of his first passes for position there, finding his way past Brian Scrivener. And, well, maybe this will be the first stage of Gavin Cox getting his race back up to scratch. Ewan Baker finally in for his first scheduled pit stop, making it 3 more laps, actually 2 more, I believe, since he came into the pits. And, oh, hello. Traffic has managed to benefit Ryan Bettis and Sean Campbell at the front of the field. Campbell now leading by 5.5 seconds over Sutton and Freeman. But crucially for Ryan Bettis, it looks like the move through there from Dean Mole has given him a slight advantage over Lachlan Capel and Lewis Greathead, who now might have to work together themselves to catch back up.
Yeah, Bettis able to scoot off to about a 1.3 second lead at the very tippy top end of the draft boost that these cars will get in the slipstream. So this is going to be an interesting decision as we take a look at a replay here at the 03 machine, the Lottridge and Travis Warling. Oh, boy,
yeah,
what's
this
going to
is
happen to
big.
my... Oh, we're going to take... He's
Look at
going to
this.
take the curb. Oh!
Ah,
No.
yeah, that's not good.
I have to break the joke back, Reese. No, my pate!
Absolutely. That's not ideal there. Lottridge lost it on the way into the chicane there, and as he was on the brakes trying to recover, Walling just went into the back of him. So there's potential here now for a lead change in LMP2. Walling clearly has some damage on the front left of his car. This is the onboard here from Walling's perspective. So you'll see Lottridge get into the braking zone, and he loses it over the curb on the brakes, and yeah, I think Walling was just taken by surprise there. He has lost the straight line speed, and in a class that's all driving the same car, that is a death sentence. Bettis, Capel, and Greathead are in the pits. It is pit stop time for the GT3 class, as it looks like Thomas Hinz is really rounding up Travis Walling now. Our overall leader, Sean Campbell, is right behind them. This could be interesting. Hinz is hanging back a little bit here. He knows that Campbell is on his way through, and he'll have to have another chance of getting past Walling a little bit later. But look at the speed difference between the two cars. Hinsey may very well go for it here at the final chicane. No, he's going to be smart and stay behind, wait for the run down the start, finish straight. But, well, Walling is certainly in trouble here.
Yeah, as we take a look at the battle for GT3, all the way out, all of the leaders coming in at the same time, coming out at the same time, and briefly, for the briefest of moments, all three class leaders all together on track near the same spot as the leader in the GT3 category pops out right behind Thomas Hinz. That's Brian Betts cruising his way back out onto a new stint and a fresh set of tires. Meanwhile, that has allowed Travis Warning get the chance to slightly jet away for the briefest of moments, but I don't suspect this will last very long once we get to the Mulsanne.
Yeah, certainly. Well, Bettis, with his fuel saving in the first stint, has absolutely nailed this. His pit stop was 1.4 seconds faster than that of both Capel and Greathead, so that's gained him even more time in the GT3 lead. Side by side for the lead in LMP2, Walling defensive on Thomas Hinz coming into the Mulsanne chicanes here. He's, too deep, offline, and he's going to get into the wall. It's all gone wrong for Travis Walling. Oh, he was too late on the brakes. He thought he could make it through the tire stacks, but the entire front end of the number 90 has been destroyed.
Oh boy, I'm going to be spending quite a long time in the body shop fixing that one, but I digress. Take a look at the replay right here. Obviously, Warling might have been a little bit flustered having to deal with that damage, has potentially knocked the toe out on one of these vehicles, and he just goes straight on into the tire barrier that is designed for anti-cutting, and you take a look at deep inside the cockpit. He's a very unhappy llama in there.
Yeah, that's bad. That is a terrible incident. Yeah, you can just see like Walling was trying to defend from Hinz. You see, he was already carrying that damage from the contact earlier, and the car was just carrying too much speed into the corner there. There was only one place it was going to go, and it was bang.
Bang, boom, pow. Every single cartoon adjective that you could think of, or a comic book in this case. That car experienced it, probably damaged all four wheels, had no choice but to take the tow. Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, battle for fourth right here. Darcy Inwood, James Walker still nose to tail, battling for this position. They're about, I want to say about 10 seconds, 12 seconds off the pace of the GT3 class leaders. So they lost a little bit of time in the pit cycle, but these guys are still able to stay close to each other as we get more cars coming into the pits.
Yep, 3 cars in the lane at the moment, all towing. Peter Matson, Jason Lottridge, and Travis Walling. Peter Matson here with his fair share of issues, this time in Indianapolis again, gets on the brakes, but oh dear, he was too late, and the surface change there locked up the wheels, and so the John Deere emblazoned Porsche can only go one place, and that was head-on into the tyre barrier. So it's going to take a while to get that car towed back to pit lane. Hopefully he gets back out there. Back to the battle between James Walker and Darcy Inwood for 4th in GT3. That's a little deep there for Inwood. Walker will try and cut under him, potentially. Hard to do, though, in this section because it's such a long set of corners here. They're fast. They last practically forever. You really got to have some confidence in your car to complete a move in that section of the circuit, but you can see that Inwood potentially struggling for consistency in that area of the racetrack. Walker will have to find a way to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's a very long, floaty section, that first bit of the Porsche curves. It is a handful if you have your car set up for the big straightaways. As we get our first retirement of the race, Peter Mattinson has decided, oh dear, I've had enough. I can't think of any more John Deere related puns, but he's gone to the farmhouse.
Yeah, unfortunate for Peter Matson there. These GTP cars are very difficult to drive at the best of times. Check back in then with Richard Kumlin, and he's few seconds behind, around about 9 seconds or so behind Sean McLaughlin and Sam Chapman. Next battle for position ahead, but crucially for Richard, he also holds on to an 11-second gap over the next battle behind, which is between David Ruddle and Justin Morton. So he's been minding his own business for the longest of times here. Last time we checked in on him, he got a freebie position when I believe it was Ruddle that went deep at Indianapolis. Richard showing here that the recipe for success at Le Mans is to just stay out of trouble.
Yep, doesn't matter how long the race is, if it's 2.4 hours, 24 minutes, or 24 hours. If you stay on the track, you're pretty much going to have a chance at a good result. As we take a look at this onboard, is this Dan Stevens? Hello, Dan Stevens. It's been a while since we've seen you. I'm glad you're here. He's about 21 seconds off of the lead here in LMP2. That's been inherited by Thomas Inns. Meanwhile, he's just sort of kind of cruising down the Mulsanne, down into the corner. See that cone on the left? Everybody loves whacking that cone. Brake down into the braking zone, makes the right turn, and then he's off onto the next turn.
You can use quite a bit of the curve on the exit there. Mulsanne is one of those corners that's way faster than it looks. Dan has a bit of time to make up to Robert Northway, almost 12 seconds. But there's great potential for him later on in the race. He is currently the lead driver of Middle Finger Racing in this race. His teammate Gavin Cox, of course, suffering those issues very early on. The lead of LMP2 has fallen into the hands of the Henry James Racing number 52, Thomas Hinz, ever the heavy concentrator through the Porsche curves. Recently upgrading his rig a few months ago, moving to direct drive, getting into a proper rig, and he's got some Suit Speed gloves on his hands, which is nice to see there. Suit Speed, of course, a big friend of us here at SimSpeed TV. But now Hinze is holding on to a lead of 4 seconds over Garen Batten, and it looks like he'll just be in cruise mode for the time being and just focusing on getting through the traffic efficiently. Battle for the lead in GT3, Bettis versus Capel. And it seems like Bettis has the edge over Capel still, but that gap nonetheless has come back down. So we're going to be repeating what we saw earlier on between these two. They'll be holding station. This time, it's Lachlan Capel who has the slipstream and can save fuel.
But they've lost Lewis Greathead in the process. He's slipped back a couple of seconds in the process to a gap of, let's see, 3.85 seconds. I should be looking at the timing stand here. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for Greathead to catch up to this little fight. But as you said, Capel has an opportunity to save a little bit of fuel, although not as much as you would with 3 cars instead of the 2 that they just currently have right now. Take a look back. There's Greathead. He's just sort of kind of trying to work his way back towards these guys. Last lap time under Anger, these guys are still working on their outlaps. 358.1 compared to a 357.9 for Capel. So obviously that difference has been made up in terms of actually hold the phone. Capel has a bit of a slowdown at the moment. That's going to change the dynamics of this little fight. He's going to have to take this whole straightaway to get it cleared out. He gets it done, but that has allowed the gap to grow from half a second to 2 seconds.
And did you see that last lap for Bettis as well? It was 4 minutes. We're usually expecting our GT3s to be a few seconds faster than that. I think he picked up a slowdown on the last lap as well. So it seems like in the GT3 class, it's a battle of who can get the least slowdowns.
And that's the thing with Le Mans and endurance racing in general. It's not about, hold the phone, it has happened, the safety car is being deployed, the RNG has decided this is the moment it happened.
Okay, here we go then. The field will be brought back under control. Now, how many of the drivers here are in a position where they can get a free pit stop? I would say not very many. This happened only just past the pit cycle. I think our GTP leaders could potentially jump in and take some extra fuel.
Campbell's coming in now. He's 7 laps into the stint. This is a perfect opportunity to get cheap pit stop, but he has to be careful. You don't want to wreck it over these bumps right here. Everybody's going to be coming in. I think it's feeding time at the zoo for the GTPs.
Yeah, and crucially, Jay was mentioning in the background, if the GTP leaders come in now, which they definitely are, they'll only need one more stop to make it to the end of the race. I don't think any other class has that luxury necessarily. Maybe the LMP2s, because they pitted what's coming up to 8 laps ago. They can make it about 12-ish laps, 10 or 11 laps on a stint. Very close to that time, and no surprise to see Thomas Hinz finding his way in. If you can save a bit of fuel, careful. Easy does it.
This was a really clumsy moment right here. Freeman was thinking about passing Hinz, which you were allowed to do since they are in separate categories. Freeman was thinking about overtaking Hinz to get to the front of the queue, but then they get right to the pit entrance. Freeman realizes, oh wait a minute, everybody else is in the pits. So he pops in, and it gets very stumbly. You see him cut it over at the curb. Take a look at the replay right here, and then it just gets all sorts of awkward up here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit deep. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like any big contact there on the back of Thomas Hinz, but Hinsey would certainly have gotten a bit of a scare as a result of that. Monitoring his numbers. And GTP leader is out. No surprise to see the pit lane is a hive of activity. It looks like our GT3 leader's coming in as well. In fact, Bettis and Greathead are jumping in, but Lachlan Capel is staying out.
This is an intriguing moment because now like you said, they've run an hour about for the GT3 category. So these guys are basically chopping off about 10-15 minutes off the tippy top of the split. So here's an opportunity to take a look at the replay as they decide, do I stay or do I go? And it looks like this is the choice.
Yeah, Capel, it was either taken by surprise or wasn't even thinking about pitting. Maybe both. Well, there's the queue. Sean Campbell and Sam Sutton leading the way. Pit stops running about 24-25 seconds for most of our GTPs. Maxime Dumoulin has only spent 21 seconds in pit lane. Remember, he had a lap over everyone else in the first stint, so that's a couple seconds less fuel that he needed to put into the car.
Yeah, but that safety car also wipes out any kind of advantage that he would have from running the distance here. This should be the only safety car period that we get, unless we get something catastrophic on the restart. So I would expect this opens up a couple of opportunities for either you could run this next stint long and pit short, or run it, or vice versa. Just whatever it takes to get to the front as Campbell trumbles along as the virtual safety car with the pit limiter on. And what is this one machine doing? Dean Molly's just sort of kind of vibing.
Waiting for a wave around, evidently, because that will be an option, I think. Pit stops further back in GTP. Sheridan, Steele, and Yetito are all in. Sheridan's managed to get his pit stop done at 23 seconds, 36 seconds for Steele, 29 seconds for Yetito. Rob Deloach, the next car to join the back of the queue here. And it looks like Travis Walling, the last driver to exit pit lane this time around. The safety car coming out at a very convenient time for him. He spent quite a while in the pits getting the tow done and the damage repaired from his massive crash out of the lead. Kirk's going to be the next of our LMP2s to jump into the lane.
Yep. And this is an opportunity for some of these guys that got caught up in incidents early to basically reset the gap. It essentially starts the race over again from the midpoint. And let's see what happens with these waiver rounds.
So I'm particularly interested in the GT3 battle because, like, I think it's fairly simple to see that in the prototype classes, basically everyone has taken a free pit stop under the safety car because it's just come out at a convenient time for our prototypes. Dean Mole, it seems, is the one exception here because he pitted only 3 laps ago. He doesn't really have a reason to come back into the pits under this safety car period, and of course he is still waiting for that wave around too. But when it comes to GT3, Capel, McLaughlin, Stuart Elder, Ray Partridge, Wayne Hutchison, along with Jake Fox, Phil Otto, and Matt Chalker. They are the GT3 cars that did not come into the pits under this safety car period. This will be interesting, particularly for Capel and McLaughlin, because yeah, they could save fuel under the safety car, keep that stint going, and they'll likely be able to keep going until maybe like 15 minutes to go or something like that before they have to maybe get a splash and dash just to get to the end. That'll be a short pit stop for them. But what does that mean for Bettis, Greathead, Walker, everyone else who came in under this safety car period? They will have overall, I think, a bit less fuel to put into the cars. They've basically gotten the chance to restart this from a full tank. Well, interview time. As we trundle around under the safety car period, our LMP2 leader joining us, Thomas Hinz in the number 52. Good to see you, Hinsey. And, I guess getting that lead was a bit of a bizarre moment.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I'm still obviously have to look back and find out what happened, but yeah, we were just going along. Travis obviously was very cheeky, very smart little play, didn't take the tyres on the first stop there, so he didn't have to do the warm-up phase that the rest of us did. So that was very smart, got him a nice little gap, but chipped away at it. Did look like he was struggling a bit. Sorry, I'm just reading these instructions real quick.
All good. Race control giving some messages to the drivers there. They're about to split the classes, so looks like the GTPs will be moving past the LMP2s and GT3s. So we're going to be executing that now. Well, as that's going on, Hinsey, we'll find our way through to the final phase of this race with the rate that we're going around the track at the moment. We're probably going to get this thing restarted with about an hour and 5 minutes, maybe less, to go. And that's basically 2 full stints in the LMP2 car. So I suppose all of you were locked into pitting under this safety car.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what the strategy does from now on. I think for us it'll be a comfortable one-stop now. This safety car kind of nullifies any sort of stuff there. So yeah, we'll just try and keep it clean. And again, I'll look back at what happened to Travis. I was curious about that because yeah, it was a good. I was really keen to have a really good battle with him. We were both really, having really close pace. We're pretty much matching each other the whole time. I think I was slowly starting to get to grips with the car. I haven't actually. This is my first race in these things since they got the new time model, so I'm sort of learning as I go. So I think I was slowly getting the pace down, but it's still would have been a really good battle. So it's a shame that it ended like that, but it's still a long way to go. Garen's got pace. Obviously, has just rolled a bit right behind, so it's not over. That's for sure. And yeah, we'll see what we can do, and hopefully it's have a nice clean run to the end and some good battles, and if we can get the W, that'd be sick. But we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Hinsey. We'll let you get back to it. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thomas Hinz there in the number 52, leading the way in the LMP2 class as the split is activated. LMP2's now moving past the GT3s. So, Lynn, we'll be getting this race restarted with our classes more or less sorted.
Yep. Basically trying to make sure that these guys aren't restarting in and amongst the slower class. So try to keep the chaos to a minimum. We should be getting this going on this lap, as unfortunately there's only one wave around. I think there was a GT3 that managed to get ahead of the class leader, so they get to come back around all the way around. That's the only one that I see that's basically getting the lucky dog. They're right now just getting the prototype sorted in front of the GT3s, and then it looks like they've got it just about figured out, and we'll get this party started one more time.
Coming into Indianapolis then, Michael Hogg, the one car, getting that wave around, and he's not too far from catching up to the back of the GT3 pack either. He's just coming down the Mulsanne straight at the moment as the GT3 field is on the run up to Indianapolis. So now things will fall under the control of Sean Campbell, with Sam Sutton in close tow. Thomas Freeman, the outlier here for the Orbit Drop Bear team for the Majors 24. And we also have Dean Mole right in the midst of our top 3 as well. Mole, the one car in GTP that is a lap down and ahead of the other classes. We have Lotridge and Mookie who are back out there, but they are multiple laps down. They are even classed behind the GT3s. So Mole is the one outlier in this equation. We'll see what they can do to find their way past him. And what will Mole do on this restart? Will he pull over and immediately let our leaders by? Or will he try and stick with the leaders here, try to get his lap back? It's going to be a tough thing to do with the pace that Campbell and Sutton have gone.
And the other thing to keep in mind, a lot of these cars having just come into the pits, the tires are going to be cold coming off the pits, even on, as we saw earlier, in a normal cycle. These tires are going to be like driving on ice cubes when we get going here again. These guys haven't had a chance to get them warmed up. We're increasing the pace speed a little bit to try to alleviate that concern, but a lot of this field is going to be on some really chilly tires.
Oh, they certainly will be. The pace starting to come up a bit here for Sean Campbell. Keeping the pace up as they get ready for the restart get ahead of the LMP2s here and ensure some kind of big gap between our classes when we get this race restarted. In comes Mole into the pits, so that's going to sort that little issue out. Green flag flies. And actually, is that green flag? It is not. No, we're going to be going another lap here.
I think I heard race control mention that there will be another pace lap added. More importantly, every minute that they spend behind the safety car here takes a little bit of time off at the far end. So potentially some of these guys have an opportunity to. It just opens up more opportunities for tricky stints as we get more cars coming in. More importantly, some of these guys stayed out initially on this caution are now coming in. They're going to get fresh tires, potentially warmer tires, and they're going to have a top off of fuel, so they'll be able to go just that much further on the stint. Potentially for some of these GT3s, they may be able to go the rest of the way.
Yeah, that is something big to think about. Basically, the bottom half of the GT3 field has come into the lane there, along with Sean McLaughlin, who was one of the drivers to stay out under the initial period. Lachlan Capel, who leads GT3, did not come into the pits that time around. Jay's sending me some messages here.
Okay. What are y'all school kids sharing?
We're spreading some rumors about you. That's what we're doing. No.
Oh no.
So Jay's feeding me some information via Dan Yeaman, who is the team manager and owner of Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport. According to Garage 61, about 7.9 litres a lap for Lachlan Capel in practice and warm-up. And with a 110-litre fuel tank in the McLaren, means he should be doing at least 13 laps per stint, and it's an easy fuel save to make 14-lap stints. Now, how many laps to the end from here when we go green? It'll be about an hour to go. In a GT3, that's... well, looking at laps around 4 minutes, that's about 15 laps or so. So that complicates matters here for Capel. Maybe he'll be a lap short. Maybe he'll be able to make it to the end if he pits at the end of the caution. So he should be okay to go full speed if he pits at the end of this caution, but the others may need to fuel save to make it home. So the GT3 battle has just gotten a lot more intriguing here thanks to Lachlan Capel staying out when the safety car was called.
Yeah, I think those cars that have stayed out and have committed to the bit are going to have a very hard time making it the rest of the way. So, but if it's a case of everybody still needs to stop and pit, who knows? Maybe they could get away with just a really short splash and dash.
Well, we'll all find out together in real time what exactly is going on for that particular fight. Coming up to an hour to go in the Le Mans 2.4. Loving the detail on the inside of the circuit here. All of the businesses and houses, etc., that are located off the Mulsanne Strait here. Some decidedly American-looking pickup trucks in a couple of these car parks as well. Stress less. Well, that's some advice that I definitely need at the moment.
And certainly the world designers at iRacing stressing less over what they put in the world. Yes, those may be American pickup trucks, but they're like, what, 6 pulleys? So very cheap to add. So you might as well keep it as a common file, save a little bit of loading time. As we take a look down the, I think this is the lumber section. Yeah, hey, I see some pallets. I want to take those home, and I want to make a box out of that. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you do with pallets anyway? They're just firewood. Jay's going on a bit of an explore now. going to be showing us a few things. Looks like a few rows of cars that have been involved in a nuclear accident and are fused together. Not exactly sure what that store's all about, but
Whoa, the airplane bias has gone a little crazy.
Disappearing trees.
There they are. Oh, and now the track has disappeared. Where has it gone? Have we found Waldo? Actually, here's a tangent. Has anybody found the little Easter egg that iRacing puts in every track? Have they found TJ and Dale? No, is it Steve and Dale or I don't know. There's a Dale Jr. around here somewhere. I just know it.
Yes. Well, the search will continue for them. And now it's Sean Campbell's search for a race win. I believe we are going to be going green this time by. So it's time, everybody. Get ready for the final hour of the Majors 2.4. 17.1 laps remaining on my timing here.
So yeah, obviously LMPs, both the GTPs and the secondary class, the LMP2s, will have to stop at least one more time, but it's going to be interesting with the GT3s. Some of them might be able to make it the rest of the way. As we get towards the chicanes, you should be seeing Sean Campbell accelerate between the first and second chicanes. It's gonna be an interesting place to get on the power because he's going to get a little bit of gas, and then he's going to immediately have to slow down for that second and tighter chicane.
When does he pull up the speed is the question. Maintaining 80 k's an hour on the way into the final chicanes. And I'm waiting to hear that acceleration rise, and it looks like he's getting it done there. A little bit of miscommunication behind, though. Both Thomas Freeman and Tyson Broad having to check up there, as it seems like Sam Sutton didn't have the best of runs out of the final corner. The race is back up to speed here. And look at that. In comes Lachlan Capel as the race goes green. 57 minutes and 30 seconds or so on the clock. That's practically guaranteed there. Lachlan Capel will be able to make it to the end from here. But everyone else in the GT3 class may have to fuel save or take a splash and dash. This is going to be a very intriguing final stint for our lowest class.
I did not expect that. I thought Capel was going to send it, but he apparently decided he's going to top it off with just a little bit of fuel. He didn't take any tires, so he's obviously going to trade having to drive in crowded streets of Le Mans for some clean air, and he's going to take every bit of advantage for that. Meanwhile, the battle is in LMP2, nose to tail. It is Hins, it is Batten, it is Northway, all fighting for the lead position in this race and maximum points for the championship.
This could be big. Well, Robert Northway now finds himself in second place in LMP2. He's passed Garen Batten and is now in touch with Thomas Hins as the field comes through here. Big gaps starting to emerge for our GTPs. Ewan Baker making up another spot. He's just passed Ben Doughty there for 7th, and they're teammates at Kiwi Sim Racing, so that transition makes sense. The other KSR car in LMP2, Robert Northway. Now piling the pressure actually on Thomas Hins here. Robert has found a big deal of pace in the LMP2 in this next stint, side by side on the way into Mulsanne. We'll see a little bit further back. Looks like Rob Deloach here and Gavin Cox. Deloach going straight on at the second Mulsanne chicane. And unlike Travis Walling before, he makes it through the tyre bundles.
He knew he wasn't going to make the corner either way, so he took the opportunity to finish slowing down and take that tire barrier shortcut the way it was intended to be. Meanwhile, Mookie, you see him just pop into the pit lane. That's a tow that has occurred. He has collided with the wall on the outside of Mulsanne. As we take a look at the 52 machine of Thomas Hins, still holding on to that lead. Oh, who is that going side a little bit crazy in the back? That might have been the Baton machine. This top four. Is it top four? Yes, it is top four. Daniel Stevens has joined the party in this one. As we take a look at the replay of what happened to Mookie. Steering to the right, car decides, no, I want to take a snack on these tire barriers.
Munch, munch. And that's going to be a few bites taken out of Julian Mookie's race once again. He's been really struggling. Thomas Freeman, meanwhile, holding on to third place behind Sutton and Campbell. And look at the speed that Freeman's carried there through the final chicanes. The Acura handling as well as it ever has. And he's just staying in touch with the Porsches. That's the first initial lap after the safety car period. And this lap that they're on right now is going to be the big decider for who actually has pace out there. They are taking a lot of curb in the Dunlop chicane, but not enough to trigger a slowdown, it seems. It's funny, the track limits rules for this circuit. They are quite liberal in many places, but at some places they certainly bite hard. There's your battle pack for GT3. 5 cars involved. Bettis leading his teammate Darcy Inwood in 4th. Greathead keeping himself in 2nd place with James Walker and Eli Donaldson in there as well. Further up the back, there's Lachlan Capel making his way around to complete his first lap after pitting.
Again, a fuel only stop for the Capel's machine to keep those warmer tires on the vehicle. So he's just going to try to take advantage of running by himself here as these guys all jostle around for position in and amongst themselves. So we look at... That's a very difficult card to identify right there in terms of number. Who is that? That is David Riddell. Ah, new face. I don't know you. Hi, how are you? Currently battling in the 12th position, trying to get a attack of Wayne Hutchinson for the 11th position. He's going to slipstream right up to him. Is he going to step out and make a move? And if so, which way does he go? They're riding right on the berm of this public road. That's a little bit faster than GT3's. Brunel dives to the inside of Hutchinson for the right-hander at the first chicane, and Hutchinson will give up the position. Again, in the Majors Championship, ringers do not score points, and they are basically not counted for position. So while Hutchinson physically loses track position, he doesn't lose any points in the process.
Yeah, maybe a different story keeping the drivers behind him at bay, though. Our GTP leaders, Campbell and Sutton, they are keeping things nice and clean up at the front here. And it seems like Freeman started to lose touch with them. Tyson Broad has switched on the Porsche in 4th and is catching up to the Acura. And this is Ben Doty, who's become the next driver to go deep at Mulsanne, but manages to only make it a minor trip through the gravel trap. Still gets some stones onto the racetrack as a result. So he'll fall. He's still down in 8th, not under much pressure from Steele and Sheridan. We'll check back in here with Lewis Greathead, who is now leading the way. It seems like Ryan Bettis has either gotten a slowdown or made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, he's got a slowdown, and he's going to fall all the way back to the back of this lead pack here. Eli Donaldson getting past him there, but that was a very close call.
Yeah, that's a especially brutal slowdown coming through the Mulsanne curve. If you clip that inside ever so slightly, it's one of the most brutal penalties that you get. As we take a look at the replay, where was it? Yep, it was definitely that inside. Around most other places, it's about a second that they want you to give up. There, it's a minimum 1.8 seconds, and oh boy, did that cost Bettis so many track positions.
Yeah, that's tough there for Bettis, but crucially for him, he's in a similar position to what he was at the start of the race. He's got a whole chain of cars that he can slipstream off, and that'll assist him in saving fuel. Remember, that's the big point of all of this. With Capel pitting at the end of the safety car period, and these guys all pitting at the start of it, everyone on screen at the moment here is locked into saving fuel until the end of the race, and if they can't do that, it'll have to be a splash and dash. Greathead, I think, is the one with the disadvantage in this situation, but Bettis, all the way at the back of this pack, got a whole train of slipstream. He'll be able to lift off long way before each corner and maybe save that crucial amount that'll allow him to keep the car going to the end from here.
Yeah, but he'll have to basically spend the rest of the stint behind these guys because he spent the first couple of laps out in front, so he spent just that little bit extra fuel to get to this point. As we ride on board the Sheridan machine, that big Cadillac V8, it's a thirsty girl, but he's going to be able to get the slipstream on the car in front. That will be the steel ride. It's Cadillac on Cadillac violence as they charge down the Mulsanne to the second chicane. It'll be the left-right one. That'll put Sheridan to the inside right here. He's going to outbrake Steele going into the corner, and he's got to get the position and be able to take off just a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a nice turnaround for Sheridan. He's had his fair share of problems in this race. He was involved through no fault of his own in the incident between Ewan Baker and Dean Moll early on in the race. And the fact that he's been able to stay on the lead lap in spite of all of that, the safety car helping him out a little bit, that's very significant. Move for Ryan Bettis. He moves back past Eli Donaldson. He wants to get a bit closer to the front of this pack, and it looks like he might get his teammate as well here. Darcy Inwood, not the greatest of exits out of the second chicane. But now, there's some bump drafting going on once again. This time, it is the OPR teammates helping each other out.
Yep, always a sight to behold when you have two team cars lined up nose and tail. It's almost like they've turned it into one machine. It's a little bit of a Transformers action as they work their way through the second Mulsanne chicane. Ooh, but Bettis caught a little bit too much, but he able to just get away with it. I thought he was going to get yet another slowdown right there.
Yeah, you can take quite a bit of curb in the Mulsanne chicanes. I think as long as you have two wheels on the curb, then you're good. Inwood and Bettis will stay in that order.
There's a little nerf.
Oh dear, yep. Turns into a little outside move there. James Walker going to lose the spot here to both of the OPR McLarens. And all of this is allowing Lewis Greathead to get away. See how far up the road he is from these guys now. Once again, though, the disadvantage is he's punching a hole in the air for himself, and he'll be using the maximum amount of fuel that can be used. There's the trade between the OPR cars. Bettis now to the front.
And something to keep in mind, 97 of James Walker immediately got on the radio, hollering at race control, "Hey, come take a look at this. This was a little bit unscrupulous the way this all went down." He's lost multiple positions right there as the Eli Donaldson machine was able to sneak his way through. So Walker has gone from second to fifth on the road here.
It was a good save for James Walker, actually. I've just reviewed that incident. Inwood got into the back of him in the braking zone for Mulsanne, and that incident is under review from race control. So you never know. Inwood might get a bit of a talking to here. Have a look at this. So Inwood in the slipstream of Walker, and they get on the brakes here, and just a little touch. Well done to James Walker for holding on to that. But that was certainly not what he would have wanted in such a tight fight at one of the fastest points on this circuit.
And to make a bad situation ever so slightly worse, Walker missed first part of the Ford chicanes, so he has a slowdown to have to work through. As we take another look at the replay, just that much. Ever so slightly, a couple of miles an hour difference, that's enough to get the car sideways. And now Walker is gonna have to try to get this red eye going away, because he's obviously upset. but he can't let that affect him. It's already messed his race up just ever so slightly by missing that first four chicane. He's just got to get settled down. He's got to get pulled back up into this fight, because otherwise, well, actually, we'll go elsewhere. Let's take a look at the LMP2 battle right here. Dan Stevens, currently in position number 4, is looking behind. Speaking of red, no one expects the llama in position.
Yeah, here comes Travis Walling on the recovery after his long tow back to pit lane earlier. The safety car period, plus all of the goings-on regarding pitting in the LMP2 class, means that Walling is still on the lead lap, and he is still on the same strategy as everyone ahead of him. To see what Travis can do to fight his way back to the front, Stevens will be checking his mirrors to see what Walling does in the slipstream from Mulsanne to Indianapolis. The straight that is not quite straight, two right-hand kinks in the midst of it all. A road that has followed the same route since God knows when, really. The pass almost be made here on the way in. It looks like Stevens is going to yield there to Walling, or is he? Side by side on the way in. More speed around the outside for Stevens. Gets into the gravel trap. Will he fight back at Arnage? He still has the inside line. He's going to be first to the apex. Walling having to back out of it. What a fight. This is fantastic. I was going to mention that I've been researching the early history of the roads that make up the Le Mans circuit. You can go all the way back to French maps from the 1600s, and you can see those roads in the area around Le Mans. It's incredible how long this place has been waiting for racing to come to it. Side by side through the Porsche curves, contact. Stevens is off. You won't be too happy with that.
Yep, they stayed side by side as long as they could, but eventually, when you get to the Porsche curve, something has to give. A little bit of paint was traded, and Stevens got the worst end of it at that point. Thankfully, no damage overall, but just a little bit of time loss. So, at the moment, you could tentatively move Travis Walling up to the 4th position, but we'll see what race control decides. But I have to circle back around. I'm not very good at these segues. It's like 2:30 in the morning for me. I apologize.
Fair enough.
Going back to our little GT3 incident from earlier, race control has decided to put a warning out for the 505 for avoidable contact. Just the little bulk that they did going into the Mulsanne as we take a look at the replay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think Walling necessarily did anything wrong there. He was hugging the inside of the corner. It's just at those kinds of speeds, the optimum line is incredibly narrow, and Stevens had to turn in at some point. So we'll see what is to be done about that. Race control is reviewing the incident. On board with Tyson Broad here, Thomas Freeman apparently taking a bit too much curb out of the Dunlop chicane, having to slow down. So Tyson Broad found his way through into 3rd place.
But as it happens in this race, anything can happen at any point, and this position could change at pretty much at any point. Freeman still has quite a bit of pace here. These guys are about 3 seconds off of Sutton in 2nd, and a couple of more seconds further up the road is the Campbell machine. As we get a repeat visit from McLaughlin, we're going to have to take a look and see what has potentially transpired with that car. Okay, so this is... so McLaughlin go... My timing and scoring showing him as having completed a 5-lap stint, so I'm wondering if he's perhaps made a boo-boo in terms of fueling.
Yeah, maybe, because Sean Anton pitted on the 2nd lap of the safety car. So he initially stayed out, same as Lachlan Capel, but then in the middle of the safety car period, he came in. Maybe he did make a bit of a boo-boo with fuel, or maybe he's just decided, look, I'm probably locked into a splash and dash. I'm just going to take it now.
That is an interesting idea. If that is the case, then you might as well go for it, and then at least that way you could push for the remainder of the 40 minutes of this race. As we take a look at the battle for 6th position in the LMP2 category, Gavin Cox has the position. Hayden Kirk wants it. Middle Finger Racing versus Kiwi Sim Racing. Oh, they both get a little bit of dust on the wheels, but that's not going to slow them down at all as they work their way through the right-hander after Indianapolis. I always forget the name of this corner, but as you said, this road's been here a very, very long time, and they're going to get side by side for this position. Oh boy, this party is heating up. Kurt is going to get the advantage on the inside coming into the Porsche curves right here. Let's see if we get a mirror of earlier. Cox backs out, lets Kirk have the position. The laps, these guys are running the fastest laps yet that they have so far in this race, but so far, Kirk has the advantage.
Certainly does. Well, Hayden Kirk has been, along with Gavin Cox, actually, they were the two cars that came together coming up to the start of the race. They have, that's deep for Gavin. He will,
and he missed the corner completely.
Yeah, he'll get a slowdown from that for sure. Both of these guys have been just, they've been in the middle of a hard slog, working their way back up. They fell behind most of the GT3s at the start. They had to take early pit stops, etc. Penalty for Hayden Kirk out of all of that as well. So it's been a tough fight for the two of them. But they've worked their way, again, back into a position, much like Walling did, where they are on the lead lap, they are on the same strategy as the rest of their class. So if they can just extract a little bit more pace, if something happens to the drivers ahead of them, they'll still be in with a chance at maybe a class top 5. Remains to be seen, though. Still 38 minutes remaining in the race. For now, battle for 3rd in GTP is one of the closest on the circuit. Tyson Broad and Thomas Freeman. Now, Freeman getting that slowdown obviously hurt him. And Broad is in the car which you would think is the better one around Le Mans. But handling is on Thomas Freeman's side here. He's going to be compromised into Arnage. But the exit is with him. And now they get into the part of the circuit where the Acura really shines, the Porsche curves. They got to keep an eye out for Maxime Dumoulin behind them as well. Remember, Maxime started on the front row of this race, and he hasn't really been a factor in the top 3 battle for the majority of it.
But meanwhile, behind all of this, Ewan Baker is running really, really quick lap times at the moment. His last lap was a 3:29.314, and that's faster than everybody in front. So obviously, pace-wise, hold the phone. We have a couple of slowdowns in the process. Sam Sutton has a slowdown. Maxime Des Moines has a slowdown. This is all happening in the Ford chicanes right here, so that's going to take them a little bit to get that cleared out. Sutton has his cleared. Des Moines still having to work his off.
He'll still have speed over the GT3 BMW of Sean McLaughlin there. Fresh out of the pits and looking to get to the end from here. Looks like the slowdown has been cleared. There's little brief flashes outside the frame. You can see that Thomas Freeman is piling the pressure on Mr. Broad. And speaking of Mr. Broad, as he has a big slide coming out of Tetra Rouge, that will give the position to Freeman potentially. Both Sam Sutton and Tyson Broad are apparently complaining about lack of front end mechanical grip in the 963s. And, you know, that right there, I think, is the issue. They don't have the confidence turning into these corners. And so that just induces even more instability for them. The 963 is certainly fast around this circuit. I mean, the straight line speed of it is clear for all to see. But a little bit more confidence turning in the front end for Thomas Freeman could be the difference maker in this battle.
Yeah, and especially testing it out in these dry conditions, potentially Des Moines, if he's planning on running the Majors 24, might be having a higher downforce setup, anticipating wet weather conditions arriving for that race. Probably just trying to get this optimized in the dry and then figure it out elsewhere. But meanwhile, what we thought was going to be Broad having to slip behind Freeman has now turned into a little bit of a breakaway as they get around the two Mustangs in the road. That would be the Chalker and Johnson cars. Haven't talked about them much, but they're just kind of hanging back in the backfield, doing okay. Freeman, oh, I thought Broad was going to catch a lot more dirt than that, but they're just going to stay nose to tail again for the time being.
And when we have a moment, here's that battle for 11th in GT3. This is Hutchison, followed by Chapman, Partridge, and Robbie Bradbury. It's a very tight fight between these guys. The McLaren looking for a little bit extra out of this. Chapman, one of the 3 Vermilion Esports McLarens in this field. For the moment, the Mustang of Hutchison is looking nice and stable. They do have some traffic coming through. Our overall race leader is upon them. And he makes his way past Bradbury and Partridge without much fuss. This is a difficult place for a GTP to make a move. We've already seen it go wrong a couple of times for some drivers, but Campbell waits for the opportunity on the exit, and he'll scythe his way through into the pits for the BMW of Ray Partridge. He's on the pit limiter quite early there. I guess another one of the cars that is now yielded to the inevitable splash and dash.
Yep, 12 laps on his stint. He's decided that's as far as he wants to go. The other cars to keep in mind that are going, that are currently long on their stints, Stuart Elder in the 115, currently P28 overall, and Wayne Hutchison that we're looking at here. No, wait, this is a little bit further. Yeah, this is the 17 on camera. I'm getting a little confused by the bottom telemetry. I apologize. But the 17 is at also at 12 laps. So a lot of guys, these guys won't be too much longer before they pit. Obviously taking advantage of the track position for the time being.
Righto. So the fight now starting to get a bit closer between Lewis Greathead and Ryan Bettis here at the front of the field. Look at the track map here. So the car up towards the top of the track map there is the car we're looking at right now, Lewis Greathead. That car that's just coming into the first Mulsanne chicane, that is Mr. Lachlan Capel, who's not setting the timing screens alight. He's setting times of about 3:59 or so on the last lap. Greathead and Bettis were 2 seconds faster on the previous lap. However, got to remember how much a pit stop might cost you. It's going to be close if Greathead and Bettis have to pit.
Yeah, and that's not including any of the drivers in between them. You got to remember, Capel is still 15th position on the road in the category. So even though he may be battling against the class leader of Greathead, if one of the guys in the middle manages to hit on something magical with the fuel mileage, it may not matter for Capel if he can't catch him.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. Capel's probably going to have to find some more pace here. Fight between, oh God, Tyson Broad and Thomas Freeman. They haven't left each other alone this entire stint. Freeman is finally through, but in the middle of traffic, darting to and fro, not ideal. Looks like Broad might have actually had a slowdown. He was not the quickest down the straight there, and this is threading the needle for sure here for Freeman. Just gets past Broad at the right moment and sees the door open to the left there for the GT3. You put a lot of trust in the GT3s to hold their line there.
Oh yeah, and the thing is that they're going as fast as they can physically go. Oh, did Freeman tag the wall right there? It looked like it did on the replay, but that may be the server deciding that there was a collision. But back to the main point, those GT3s, they can only go so fast, and when you're this close to a competitor in the faster category, it's the split-second decisions that you make that can be the difference between making the pass stick and winding up in the fence.
Oh, it's big. Big fighting here with now half an hour to go in the Majors 2.4. Still looking for fights in the top 5 in GT3. Donaldson and Inwood have lost touch with Greathead and Bettis. Pitt in GTP, Sam Harper. And I'm not seeing any black flags to his name, so there's no incident limit penalty or such that Harper's gotten there. He's joined in the pits by Wayne Hutchison in the Mustang, who we saw leading that battle for 11th earlier.
Yep, just taking a... Near as I could tell, just looking at the admin side of things, Sam Harper only has 2 incident points to his name. And in this particular event, it's 24 incident points before you get your first drive through penalty, and then you get another 12 after that. So right now, Sam Harper doing really good over a 2.4-hour race.
Yeah. And we'll see if Harper will have the pace to stay in touch in the final half an hour of this race as Bettis continues his pressure on Greathead there. That's Freeman and Broad that have just found their way through on them. Really get a sense of the difference in speed at the ends of these straights. GT3s, they're certainly no slouches. They are fast cars in a straight line. But the GTPs, they're just able to monster these straights. They are downforce producing machines, but they have pretty low drag for the amount of downforce they produce, so they are able to carry a great deal of speed down the Mulsanne. As the exit there for Bettis, it's still looking good. Now, Bettis, I think, has moved back to his usual strat that we've seen throughout this race so far. Just sticking behind the car in front, lifting and coasting into the corners, and making sure that he stays in touch to get that slipstream all over again. This could be him setting up for a good finish, and they're still able to get some great pace over Lachlan Capel, who still is running times that are about 2 seconds slower than these two.
Which I find interesting. Yes, the track has slowed down a little bit. I'm not seeing any personal bests being set around here. A lot of those were set early on when the track was a little bit, it didn't have as much rubber laid down. It's weird on the roadside where it's like, instead of the cars getting faster as the track gets more rubbered in, it actually gets a little slicker. So like you won't be able to go as fast through the corners, but you'll have a bigger like sweet spot to be able to rotate around. That's where we've seen some of the mishaps with like the Warling machine earlier, where he breaks off line and there's just that sheer grip change just absolutely messes up the braking points. But as you see here, these guys, there's a little bit more yaw to the cars at the moment, and they're just riding on that grip, the rubber laid down, getting all as far over as they dare go to make it around these Ford chicanes, taking quite a bit of curb. And yes, the Greathead machine caught a slowdown right there, and that's just the moment that allows him to lose the lead right there.
Yep, Lewis Greathead back to second place again. Slowdowns have been defining a lot of the action here today. GTP Pitter with the Cadillac of Alexander Sheridan in. This will be his final stop of the race, but it seems not exactly for fuel reasons. He was trying to make his way through on GT3s here, and it looks like that curb has claimed another victim. We saw that happen for Jason Lottridge earlier, and immediately into the pit lane. Too much damage to continue at race speed. Mechanical black flag for the car there. And Sheridan would have already gotten his fast repair done earlier because he was involved in the incident between Baker and Mole. So he's going to be spending a long time in there.
As you look at the timing screens, you see that we have the one fast repair. If they have already used it, they get the 1 of 1. If they still have it available, they get the little 0 on the left side. And as you can see, Sheridan right there already used that fast repair. So again, he's probably going to spend the remainder of the race in the pits because it's going to take a long time to fix. So that may be all she wrote for him.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Alexander Sheridan. Final pit stops coming in for the LMP2 class, meanwhile. We see that Robert Northway, Garen Batten, and Travis Warling have all decided to come in. But Thomas Hinz staying out in the lead. So that could be significant.
Yep, coming up on the time limit finish. This, if he's able to make this whole lap work, that's that less amount of fuel that he has to take to be able to get to the end of the race. So I would expect Hinz to pick up several seconds in this exchange if these cars behind have to take a full tank.
All right. Well, the pit stops are just about complete here for the LMP2 guys, and it looks like Northway has lost out in that pit cycle to Batten, who stays ahead, but only just. Batten with a very quick stop there.
Yep, potentially we'll have to see how they go out. Oh, hold on, Batten actually overshot the Dunlop chicane right there. Has to take the slowdown, but Northway's not close enough to capitalize. So Batten got away with one briefly ever so at the pit out, but never mind. Here's Northway attacking, going onto the bull sun.
Oh, no!
Touch! And this is going to be a big moment for Batten right there. Oh, and that's a secondary incident up ahead of both of them. It looked like there was a GTP Cadillac that was also getting involved. It's the Mookie machine.
Yeah, oh, that's not good there. Northway obviously saw the opportunity, but Tetra Rouge is not typically a corner you make passes at. This is what happened on the way out of the pits. So they're on cold tires at this point. Batten had a slowdown to serve. He ran deep at the Dunlop chicane and still had to serve that slowdown on the way up to Tetra Rouge. And so Northway decided it was time to go for it. Unfortunately, I don't think Batten was expecting him to dive up the inside there. I think the slowdown had just been cleared by Batten at that point. And, well, a single error 4 or 5 corners before compounds and confounds.
And you saw at the tail end of that replay, Northway had to make a little juke because there was another car crashed up the road. I believe that was the Mookie machine. We'll take a look at that replay right here. Again, another overcorrection. Ouch! Into the tire barrier. So this could have just as easily been a 3-car pileup if those two LMP2s hadn't gotten together beforehand.
Yeah, that could have been very difficult to negotiate. Maybe a blessing in disguise for Batten, because if they maintained the pace there and Mookie had his problem in front of him, it probably would have been involved all 3 cars. Well, fight now for 5th for Garen Batten. Dan Stevens up ahead of him. And Hayden Kirk has managed to find his way to the back of the other Middle Finger Racing machine. That's, I believe, our overall leader, Sean Campbell, finding his way through on this pack, coming up to Indianapolis. GTPs get a bit of extra speed over the LMP2s at that point, and the move is complete there for Campbell, but not quite complete for Batten, who slides his way around Indianapolis. And we'll dive up at Arnage here. Stevens has to give him room, but, oh, Batten went a bit too deep. He clattered over the curb, and now Hayden Kirk sees the opportunity. 3 wide on the way out of Arnage. How's this going to work out by the time we get to the Porsche curves?
I don't think this is going to end well. If I was the machine on the left, you're a lap down. Please get out of the way. Oh, there's a nudge by the Batten car. Stevens is going to be... Oh, they're going to be sliding. This is turned into a dirt race with all the marbles on the road. Stevens slides ahead, and Kirk will snag this position for the time being.
Only just. Garen Batten has had a terrible lap here coming out of the pits. Getting spun in the incident with Northway, and then getting shuffled behind both Stevens and Kirk. Here comes Sam Sutton, second place in GTP, but he can't find a way through. He has to go for pit lane, and I think maybe that was another blessing in disguise there for Sutton, because he would have had to pit anyway.
Yep, Campbell's pitted in front. These guys have made 13 laps. I would suspect these guys are going to double stint this particular set of tires as everybody else comes in on the GTP front, so it's feeding time at the zoo for them. Meanwhile, we change the camera back to the GT3 category. All of the action has still carried on in this fight. This is the battle for the third position right here. Darcy Inwood has it, Eli Donaldson wants it, and Walker's lurking.
Close fight. Once again, into Porsche curves. All of our GTP leaders are in the lane, with Sean Campbell having just completed his stop there. He is way out in front. Sam Sutton's stop is complete, just as Maxime Dumoulin jumped in for his final stop as well. How's this going to work out here for Eli Donaldson? Darcy Inwood and James Walker surrounding him as Broad, Dumoulin and Freeman come out of the pits there, and Freeman losing 2 spots in that pit cycle. Dumoulin with the quickest pit stop. Both Broad and Dumoulin. Yeah, okay. In comes James Walker in the midst of that fight with Inwood and Donaldson. But yeah, like I've been saying about the fuel save for Dumoulin, I think he's been doing that pretty much the whole race here, and it's worked out for him. He's still in contention for third with 18 minutes remaining on the clock.
A finals abbreviated stint to go to the end, so all of the strategy is yet to play for. As we see on the right, James Walker splash and dash just 9.4 seconds in the pits, lightning fast compared to waiting around and having one guy change all 4 tires. So he's also going to have he's going to keep that set going to the end, so he's going to be really warmed up. And let's see where he comes out in relation to Capel. Capel up to 12th, just getting to the start finish line to start his 30th lap overall, and looks like I think Walker's going to hold the position for the time being.
Yeah, he's got a long way out of Lachlan Capel. I understand why Lockie tried what he did, as Stevens and Batten will once again make their way through Indianapolis side by side, and this time Batten holds on to the line around the outside, and he completes the move into Arnage. Took him an extra lap, I think, but Batten finally free of that fight. But yeah, I understand why Capel went into the pits when he did, because, you know, making it no stops to the end, it's a sensible thing to do. The problem is his pace has just not been what he's needed. And I think with that pit stop we just saw there from Walker, it just goes to show, you know, Capel is unlikely to potentially even get a top 5 here.
I wonder if he underestimated the importance of drafting here, because what we've seen is we've had a couple of duos and trios and occasionally a group of 5 running around in a peloton, sort of like in another famous road race in France. These guys using the draft not only to save fuel, but also to get a little bit of a speed boost.
Yeah, it's so important around Le Mans. Being able to find the slipstream. It's a long, historic road racing circuit, this one. And if you're out there on your own, just not able to take advantage of the slipstream of the car in front of you, you will bleed time endlessly. That's what we've seen happen to Lachlan Capel. Hey, Thomas Freeman has moved ahead of Tyson Broad and Maxime Dumoulin. Oh no, that's Broad! Broad with massive damage! He's gonna have to come into the pits! He still has a fast repair in hand, I believe. But that is far from ideal for car number 99. What on earth happened? Oh dear, looks like Dumoulin. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh no. That's huge.
We are a very, very long way from Hazard County in Tennessee, where those good old boys, the Duke brothers, hang out. And Des Moines, well, the thing is, Broad was having an issue with the corner, and when he slowed up, Des Moines having to decide, he zigged when he probably should have zagged, runs off the road, and yeah, we'll see the result right here. Boing!
Yeah, I think Dumoulin was, I don't think he was aware of the hump on the grass in that point. Broad's rear aerodynamic assembly flying in front of him. And, well, Tyson Broad will be a very unhappy chappy. Going to be spending some time in the pits. Yeah, I think the problem is in that area of the track. We've seen it multiple occasions before now. That little left-hand kink that we saw both Lottridge and who was the other car that had issues there? Two GTPs.
Early on. Yeah, it was prototype. Maybe one of Mookie's incidents, perhaps.
No, it wasn't Mookie. It was Lottridge and I think Chris Yatito potentially. Yeah, they both had problems there through that left-hander by catching the curb. Maybe Dumoulin was trying to avoid that situation for himself. Unfortunately, Broad was sticking to the right-hand side of the track and, well, having to take to the grass, going massively hard into the air. Can't exactly control a race car when it doesn't have any of its wheels on the ground.
Nope. And this track is famous for cars not having any kind of contact with the racing surface. That was a very mild incident, relatively speaking, to many years ago when Mercedes was a works team in the top flight category at Le Mans, having a little bit of an aerodynamic instability and flying off into the trees. And that's the reason why we have the Mulsanne chicanes, those little left-right bits to slow the cars down, because apparently they decided 250 miles an hour was just too much.
Yeah, in testing, some cars were able to get to nearly 400 k's an hour down the Mulsanne straight. They obviously couldn't reach those speeds in the race or even in qualifying. The team that reached that magic 400 mark had to really trim out the car. But yeah, there's no way that you would allow that sort of speed in this day and age. And so, in some ways, good thing those chicanes were put in, but it would still be nice to have that full breadth of the Mulsanne straight to play with. And in fact, you can do that on iRacing. There is a chicaneless version of the circuit available. Of course, it's not used in many of these events that attempt to emulate the real-world race. But I'd love to see them give it a go.
Yep, and there's a lot of classic vehicles on the surface that would definitely be suited for that. I'm imagining the Nissan GTP from the old days, about the 1980s IMSA class. Though that thing is an absolute brute around here with a 5-speed gearbox. old, even an H pattern to boot. So even though the more things change, the more things stay the same, everybody's just building absolutely crazy machines. Let's take a look at the battle for the lead in the GTP or GT3. I'm getting all my classes mixed up here. Oh boy. Bettis still has the lead here, and still this battle has been intense from the get-go. These guys have been stuck together like glue, and I imagine it's going to keep going as we tick down to the final 10 minutes of this race.
Kirk and Stevens now fighting, and that's Kirk running deep, a little bit too deep there. Admiral San, and that's yet another adventure that Sean Campbell happens upon. I'm impressed that he's managed to avoid a lot of this drama that's happened around him, Sean Campbell. Almost every time we see him come through on something. I'm not going to curse him. Okay. I'm not cursing him.
Okay.
There is wood around here, and I'm touching it. Okay.
Okay, fine. Meanwhile, as you saw briefly, Justin Morton happened to stop for a bit of fuel. He came in at the 7th position. I want to say, no, that's the 6th position on the road for the GT3s. He's going to slip back a little ways. So a lot of these guys try to roll the dice, not able to make it work. Meanwhile, still looking at this battle for the lead. And here's another GTP, Dean Mole. Not had a chance to talk about Dean Mole much, except when he's had moments, but he's doing okay. Still on the road, still making his way through. He's not last in the class at the very least.
Yeah, considering where he was about 20 minutes in, it's mighty impressive to see the recovery that Dean Mole has made. Of course, still a lap down on his GTP competitors, but at the same time, top 10 is certainly worth celebrating. 8 minutes to go. Line just crossed for Sean Campbell, who's under a lot less pressure for the podium now. He's been solidly the fastest driver all day. He still holds the fastest lap of the race earlier on when the track was cooler. 3:26.0 is what he set. The track has actually gotten much warmer over the course of the day. Remember, when we started the race, it was only 26 degrees Celsius. Now it's up to 40. That's approaching 110 Fahrenheit territory.
Yeah, it's currently at 104 in freedom units, but nothing wrong with Celsius or centigrade, or however you want to pronounce it. Sorry, I was still riding on the Team Mole machine. He had a little bit of lockup. But again, track heating up, that's one of the quirks of endurance racing is that the track surface will change completely. Not only is the track being rubbered in, but also this heat is slowing the cars down, so they're not able to go as fast as they were before. And you look at this graph, even though the air temperature has remained a constant, steady, sunny 23 degrees Celsius, that track temperature just went up and up and up, and where it stops? It's probably going to be close to that because we're close to the end of the race, but hey, it's still getting warmer.
Yeah, we've only just gone past 12:30 p.m. in sim time, and so there's probably still a bit of heat left to generate in that track. Well, replay on board with Hayden Kirk here as, okay, trying to get back past Stevens and just sneaking his way through the tyre bundles there. Stevens re-emerges up ahead of him, so that's the reason why you see Hayden Kirk that far behind Stevens. Oh, hello. It's pit time for our leaders in GT3, Bettis and Greathead. They cannot save fuel to the end. Darcy Inwood, the next to come in, and Eli Donaldson will join them. So it looks to me, oh no, black flag for Eli Donaldson. He sped on the way into pit lane.
It was ever so slightly. He also had a furled black flag because he clipped a curb at some point, so it may not have necessarily been speeding, but if you try to take a furled black flag into the pits, they do not like that in race control. He's going to get at least a drive through, as race control has ruled on the incident between the 524 of Maxime Des Moines and 99 of Tyson Broad. 30-second stop and hold has come in, and that's the biggest penalty I've seen yet out of this event.
That is huge. And, I mean, I totally understand why they did such a harsh penalty there. It was a massive incident, and Dumoulin was frankly out of control at the point that he made that contact for very obvious reasons. So, yeah, that's going to put Maxime, I think, back behind Ben Doty, back into 7th place, which is a shame after starting on the front row.
Yep, and that penalty is going to stick for a very long while. Meanwhile, we take a look at the side plot in GT3. Lachlan Capel has capably worked his way up to 7th. It's not the lead like he was hoping for, but at the very least, he is showing that this has some merit if you need to try something different in the GT3 category.
Yeah, it could have been a lot better, though. He was fighting for the lead with Bettis and Greathead. It all came down to his decision to stay out under safety car and then go for the pit stop right when the green flag happened. He was stuck without any help in the slipstream, and that will put paid to a potential podium for Mr. Capel. It's going to be the last lap next time by for Sean Campbell. He's just found his way past Robert Northway, who's still running a very strong 2nd in the LMP2 class. But Thomas Hinz out to a massive lead now. He went that lap longer and was able to put a bit less fuel in the car to get to the end, was Hinzy. So that's granted him 13 seconds or thereabouts in the lead. Ewan Baker, meanwhile, the fight back to end all fight backs. Remember, he was in the pits getting repairs early on in this race after having a massive clatter with Dean Mole. He's somehow been able to fight his way back through that safety car, play the pit game perfectly in the midst of all of that, and now he sees a podium in sight. The Cadillac is rounding up Thomas Freeman's Acura running in 3rd.
I want to say something happened to Freeman to allow this opportunity to come to pass. The 5-lap average for these two cars is dead even. Freeman has been running an average of 330.486 to Baker's 330.571. Obviously, some kind of boo-boo has happened to the 556 that has enabled Baker to close this gap.
It's taken this long for Baker to work his way back up to his starting position of 4th in GTP. All it'll take is a bit better pace, a slipstream past Freeman, and it'll be a podium, perhaps the biggest fight back to a podium I've seen in a very long time here from Ewan Baker. Of course, Baker just coming off some esports competition of his own. He was competing in the New Zealand Toyota 86 E-Cup over the past month or so. Some GT3 traffic to negotiate, but they'll find their way through nicely. Baker taking all 3 wins, I believe, in the final round of the Toyota 86 series at Sandown. And so he's learned a lot over the last year or so in terms of his racing ability. He's put that into practice, but it's white flag for the man up front, Sean D. Campbell, car 553, setting himself up for a great preparation for the Majors 24 with Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport. Seems like Baker has lost a bit of time to Freeman on this lap. So we'll wait and see if that battle for 3rd fires up again towards the end of this final lap. Look at the time that Capel has been taking out of Sam Chapman for 5th in GT3. You see him in the background there, and Chapman has a couple of prototypes to contend with here. our overall leader with them. It will be
Yikes.
the final lap for these guys. And tell you what, I said Capel would struggle to get a top 5, but I'm very happy to be proven wrong. He clearly has the opportunity to get it from Chapman here.
Yeah, you saw that almost was a freebie because Chapman chopped the nose of Hins over in that left lane. Hins had to back out of it. That is, it's not cost him any time position-wise. Just a little bit of a minor scare, to put it mildly. And in the meantime, that has allowed Capel to close his gap up. So this comeback trail that Capel is on is certainly going to go right to the end.
Top speed for Lachlan Capel, just about hitting 280 before the braking zone. Look at the time he makes up there on Chapman. There's been a change for second in LMP2. Travis Warling has gotten past Robert Northway. Looks like maybe a slowdown there for Robert, and he's having lots of problems at the second chicane there. Oh boy. Northway had second and was a few seconds ahead of Warling from what I could see, but this last lap has not worked out for him.
Everything is popping off at this very last moment. Travis Warling was utterly destroyed in one of the Mulsanne chicanes. In the tire barriers, he had to tow. He is driven all of the way back, and Northway is having further issues. He has gone wide at the Mulsanne, but Travis Warling has gone Nova on this field. He's gotten all the way back to second place. Meanwhile, we take a look at the battle for the class win. Bettis has managed to sneak away to a 2.5 second lead off the Greathead.
Now, he's just lost another spot as Robert Northway. There's further problems for him. Oh dear, a big fall for KSR number 1.
Go look at the McLaughlin machine. I'm sorry to point out, a prototype Ewan Baker was slicing his way through the field right here between these three cars right here. We may have to take a look at the replay after the fact, because here comes Campbell to the finish line.
It looks like he's at the very least going to get Lewis Greathead, which means Ryan Bettis may very well go another lap here. It looks like, is Campbell going to stay behind Greathead? This is the question. Regardless, we'll give our leader and our winner his congratulations there. Greathead slowing down to let him go. And Campbell will win in GTP. Thomas Hins will take the win in LMP2. What a drive from Hinsey. He's obviously very happy with that one. And that leaves Ryan Bettis to go around the last lap here all on his own. He's going to take the win by a lap in GT3.
Oh, but... And Capel managing to get that 5th position at the very end to secure as much of a comeback as he is.
Oh.
At the same time, hold the phone. These guys are battling all the way to the end.
Yeah, Dylan Jordan just managing to keep Sean McLaughlin behind him there, and the McLaren and the BMW will cross the line just a couple of tenths apart. Man, that was quite the fight there. Replay here. Which car's going to emerge over the hill here? That is Lachlan Capel. This is how he got the move done on Sam Chapman. Looked like a bit of an early blend out of the throttle there for the Vermilion car. And that was how, oh dear. Oh dear. There's no steering in that car. Or at the very least, it's way off. He's gotten a black flag from iRacing for incident points, I believe.
Yes, he just hit 24 incident points right here. This car has no front steering. He is trying desperately to get around. I don't think this is going to work. We're going to take a look further on back. This is what I was mentioning earlier. He's going to go wide in the Mulsanne, I believe. Yep. He manages to keep it off the wall, but then it just kind of all falls apart. He didn't have his little buddy Bluey with him.
What happened to this car? That's what gets me here. Northway, potentially with a technical failure of some kind. I honestly don't know what the deal was there. this is what you were talking about earlier before, Lynn. Baker slicing and dicing as it was 3 wide between these GT3s.
You ever go down the highway and you get behind a couple of semis that can't go faster than their governors? That's basically what Baker just experienced right there in this little segment replay. That's what got me pretty crazy on that one.
Yeah, man, that is... that's stressful. Well, we still have our GT3 winner out there. We'll give him his dues when the time comes. He's just coming into Indianapolis now. But Sean Campbell winning by 4.5 seconds over Sam Sutton, with Thomas Freeman taking the last spot on the podium there, was able to hold off the hard-charging Ewan Baker in GTP. Sam Harper rounding out your top 5 with Ben Doty, Chris Yatito, Ryan Steele, Dean Moll and Maxime Dumoulin rounding out your top 10. Harsh penalty for Dumoulin right at the end. Was unable to finish on the lead lap. In 11th in GTP, it was Jason Lottridge. He was the last one to get to the finish, with Tyson Broad, actually Broad classed ahead of Lottridge there, my apologies. Sheridan, Mookie and Matson unable to make it to the finish, and Broad the last to really get involved in a huge incident. Before we go through our LMP2 results, let's give our GT3 winner his dues here. Ryan Bettis, by virtue of Campbell crossing the line behind him, avoided going a lap down, and so he could just cruise around this final lap. He is the only car remaining on the circuit. And Bettis will take a well-earned victory in the GT3 class. One Performance Racing on top in GT3. What a fantastic drive it was from Ryan. He was playing that fuel save game from very early on in the race, and it paid off for him. Well, in LMP2, Thomas Hinz will take the win by 14.5 seconds over Travis Walling. And what a fight back it was from Walling as well, one of the drivers who had a massive crash early on in the race. Garen Batten and Dan Stevens, along with Hayden Kirk, rounding out your top 5 there, with Gavin Cox, Robert Deloach and Brian Scrivener finishing ahead of Robert Northway, who had some very bizarre issues on the final lap there. 9 LMP2s, Lynn, and many, many more GT3s.
Yeah, overall, a very balanced field. If you pair the prototypes all together compared to the GT3s, let's take a look at those results. Obviously, Ryan Bettis, by virtue of crossing the start-finish line ahead of the overall leader, able to mess up all of our margins. So a lot of these gaps are a lot closer than you might think, just by virtue of endurance racing. That's how it goes sometimes. Lewis Greathead, Darcy Inwood, James Walker, Lachlan Capel making that comeback into the top 5. Continuing on, Sam Chapman, Dylan Jordan, Sean Anton McLaughlin, Justin Morton, David Riddell. A lot of new names in this field, potentially prepping for the 2.4. I say 2.4. This is the 2.4. They're prepping for the 24. Next row, Eli Donaldson, Robbie Bradbury. Good results overall for that car. Jake Fox, Stuart Elder. So it's good results for Fusion all together. Phil Otto, Matt Chalker, Wayne Hutchinson finishing 17th place in class in car number 17, behind Adam Johnson, Michael Hogg, Ray Partridge kind of hanging in there at the top 20. And then there's one name at the very end, Richard T. Kumlin, having some issues at the very end, is unfortunately just going to go a couple of laps down, but everybody is classified in the GT3 category, and we have some people hanging out in our lobby.
We do indeed. We'll bring Thomas Hinz in first for a chat. Well, finally taking that win in LMP2, Hinzy. Must be very happy with that. Dominant in the end, about 14, 15 seconds ahead of your nearest rival. All came down to that final pit stop in the end and just surviving the traffic.
I'll go do push talk, I totally forgot. Yes. Thank you. It was good. I had a good restart. Was able to just sort of ease into it. Just kind of slowly eke the gap out. Was definitely getting more comfortable as the race went on. I was remembering how to drive the P2 more and more as it went. Just got the gap out, and was about probably just once I knew I had Rob sort of covered in terms of not sticking too close to me, I actually feel safe just a pinch, just to go the extra lap because I thought it might be helpful. It didn't really matter, I don't think, in the end, but just always nice to have it there if you need. And then I actually ended up overfueling, but I learned from Travis's stuff and didn't take tyres in the last stint, so I didn't have to do the whole warm-up stuff, especially when it was only 4 or 5 lap little dash, so there was really no need for tyres. So just popped out, had a bigger gap than I expected. So it was just taking it really easy there. Was not taking any risks of traffic at the end. I could have been more aggressive, but there's really no point when you've got a nice gap. So just take it easy and good to get the win. So good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I guess you've said everything that needs to be said about the race, Hinsey. So we'll leave it to you to thank whoever you need to thank for this performance today.
Thanks. Just obviously the Henry James guys for all the support they always have. Even though I'm quite MIA these days, I don't really have a lot of time for the sim anymore. But try and get on when I can, and they're always supporting. And no matter what I do, what I can do racing wise, they're always very supportive. So huge thanks to those guys. Big thanks to obviously the majors again. Another awesome event. It was awesome fun. Always love racing these races. They're just so much fun to do, and everyone usually races really well, and there's not a huge amount of dramas and chaos usually. So it's usually really good. So big thanks to Majors for putting on another great event, and big thanks to you guys as well for broadcasting as always, and making it look awesome, and allowing people to watch all the action unfold on track. So thank you very much.
All right, hopefully see you potentially for the wild card round on July 20th, the Indy Japan 300, Hinsey. Catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thomas Hens there. And our overall winner is in the house here. Lynn Kinchelow stood by with Sean Campbell.
John Campbell, an amazing result overall, winning both your class and the overall race. How did it feel out there in the dry?
I felt pretty good, honestly. The tires kind of died at the end. Yeah, since I don't think any of us took tires in the last stop, the rears were definitely feeling it. But it's pretty comfortable. I guess I'm sorry, I'm kind of lost for words. I'm really tired. But other than that, it was fun. The cars are definitely fun, and
we were discussing in the middle of the race that you have been recruited to drive in the Majors 24, which is in a couple of weeks. Just curious, I know we're looking ahead. What do you think of the potential weather conditions that we might see in that event?
I think it'll be great. I'm hoping for a lot of rain personally, or like heavy rain personally, because that's just how Le Mans is, right? It always rains. It's always heavy. And these cars are really, really fun to drive in the wet if you can do it. But it is tough. That's not as undeniable. But it is very fun to learn. And I think it'll be really interesting, especially with the safety cars, so that there's definitely room for mistakes, right? So if you do make a mistake, you get back in the race once the safety cars happen. So it should be interesting. The attrition should be okay, I hope. It is going to rain, of course, but I think it'll be a good race. And, I don't think it's going to matter too much about which car you pick, because it'll be like, oh, a Ferrari or whatever, right? I think every car is going to work just because the safety cars are going to bunch us back up, and the rain's going to be just about who's better in the wet,
Yeah, and you mentioned it as well, the safety car procedure, something a bit unique. I would think, at least at top level esports on the roadside. How did you feel that worked out for you? I know you were able to work out some pit strategy in the process.
I've had some experience with this safety car procedure in MEC, and it's worked well. I think it's good. It's obviously we don't have however many stewards they have in real life, like 100, 200 or whatever to work on it. So it's a compromise, but it's a good compromise. I think it's pretty efficient. This track's a bit unfortunate because it's gigantic, right? But in MEC, all the tracks we went to, it was very fast and smooth and whatnot.
Yep, exactly. MEC is a different series that the Majors puts on. And before we let you go, Sean, anybody you would like to shout out?
The drop air guys, of course, right? Getting to do the M24, that was pretty cool. It's been a while since I've gotten to drive it. And yeah, I guess that's it. Too tired to think of anybody else, unfortunately.
It's all good. I mean, it is a very, very late night, early morning for us over here in the United States. But I want to thank you for your time, Sean Campbell. That is your overall winner in the Le Mans 2.4 in the international region.
Thanks for broadcasting it.
Yeah, brilliant
Exactly.
stuff. Brilliant stuff from Sean Campbell. And, well, we'll have one more driver to have a chat to here today. It's Ryan Bettis, who managed to grab the win for OPR in the GT3 class. And it seems like, Ryan, you were setting that up from basically the start of the race. You weren't going for those big dives at the start. You were sticking behind Lachlan, behind Lewis as well, sitting in the slipstream. And it seems getting that fuel strategy set up.
Yeah, well, just doing a lot of officials around Le Mans, just really a fuel strategy type of track. Stand behind a car as long as you can, just really helps in the long run, really. So it's, yeah, just done that. Worked out great.
Were you surprised at Lachlan Capel's decision to forego pitting at the start of the safety car and try and make it a green flag run to the end?
Yeah, I was very shocked by that. I was like, yeah, no, very shocked. I knew Lewis would come in with me, but yeah, shocked. Lucky didn't go in. Anyway.
Well, at the end of the day, it was you who came away with the victory, and I think a big, not just the strategy, but also another defining feature of the race for GT3 was the slowdowns. Both you and Lewis were falling victim to those from time to time.
They were shocking. I think I got like 2 in one lap, like total like 5 seconds. I was like, oh, this is a disaster. But no, obviously worked out good. Good thing I went both ways. Everyone pretty much got slowed down, so worked out good.
Certainly did. Well, win for One Performance Racing. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go, Ryan?
Yeah, just a massive thanks to Simrigs, Shunts, Scenery, DSM, painting and decorating. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Well, Ryan, we'll let you go. Enjoy your victory, and yeah, congratulations.
Lovely. Cheers, boys.
Ryan Bettis, last driver we're going to have a chat to here today. Of course, the next round of the international region of the majors, it's the wild card, Lynn. The international region is going for the Indy Japan 300. We're going to Twin Ring Motegi to the Speedway on the 20th of July, and it's going to be in the old Dallara IR05 Indy car. This should certainly be a fun time.
6 rounds down, 6 more to go, and as you said, this is a unique combination. We have previously run this before in the majors. It was a very entertaining time with the older car. I fully expect this race to be an absolute barn burner at a rare speedway in the Far East.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And of course, there is the Majors 24 coming up. A lot of teams in this race were using it as preparation for this event on the 21st of June. Green flag is going to be at 11 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, and our friends over at Global Sim Racing Channel will be bringing you the action from that. So make sure to tune in and check it out. The huge event for the year from the Majors series. Some of the best sim racing teams in the world will be showing up and strutting their stuff for 24 hours around the Circuit de la Sarthe. But for now, we'll say our goodbyes here. The show isn't over on SimSpeed TV. We're going to be going live in about half an hour's time for the V8 Scop series at Belle Isle. So myself and Jay Kennedy will see you in that amount of time. But for now, it's goodbye from Lynn Kinchelo, from myself, Reese Gardner, and from Jay Kennedy behind the scenes here on SimSpeed TV. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Anybody really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.